Welcome to the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, where we bring together the top SCCA road racers from around the country to compete in the premier amateur road racing series. The Hoosier Super Tour visits some of the greatest racetracks in North America, showcasing our 27 car classes and packing a ton of wheel-to-wheel action into every event. And of course, you can now enjoy live streaming coverage of the Hoosier Super Tour events on site or from the comfort of your own home. Find out those details and more at scca.com/live. And so this weekend we head to the Wisconsin Dells, and it's where a World War I veteran who served in the Army Corps of Engineers and then came to own the Elkhart Sand and Gravel Company. He'd sell 1,750 shares, priced at $100 apiece to a local sports car enthusiast, all to finance 520 acres of land with its 4 miles of pavement and 14 turns, a place where drivers could take its iconic kink flat out but never feel comfortable doing it. Welcome everybody to the park the park that Mr. Tufty built, the National Park of Speed, Road America, and the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. I'm Gregg Ginsberg, and it is day 1 of 3 here from Road America. I'm going to be joined over the rest of the weekend with and by Brian Bielanski, and we're going to have a number of other people coming in as well. And we've got tons and tons of action over the next couple of days. You're joining us here for the second half of qualifying at the June Sprints. We're going to have today, give you a little rundown of the schedule today. We're going to have 6 qualifying sessions, each of them 25 minutes apiece. And as you can see on screen now, we have our first qualifying group of the afternoon, and that is our touring car group made up of the Touring 2, Touring 3, and Touring 4 classes. And again, we're going to have six groups go out for qualifying. We're going to wrap up qualifying tomorrow morning, and then we are going to go racing starting right at about 10 a.m. Central Time tomorrow, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. We go racing with our sprint races, 25-minute races to the checker, and then on Sunday we will have our 13-lap June Sprints Championship races. So hoping you can stay with us here all weekend long. And before we get underway here and start talking about qualifying, have a quick announcement to make. So I know everybody absolutely loves them. Let's play these annoying little chimes. Attention in the paddock, would Joe Ebben, driver of the Super Touring Light number 14 machine, that's from race group number 9, please report to the Black Flag Station. Joe Ebben, driver of the STL Super Touring Light number 14 machine, that's from the group that just finished up, group number 9, please report to the Black Flag Station. All right, so we've got our first qualifying group out on track right now for their second 25-minute qualifying session of the day, and it appears as though we have at the moment somewhere along the lines of 45 cars that have taken to the track. Let's give a little bit of a recap as to what we saw this morning, where we had also somewhere around about 41 cars go out on track. Fastest of the group and fastest in Touring 2 out of Winnetka, Illinois, Mark Bowden in his Fall Line Motorsports Porsche 911, multi-time national champion. He ran a 226.910, while the Home Wrecker Racing BMW M2 Club Sport of Brett Scoggin turned in a 228.452, so about a second and a half off of Bowden's times. Aaron Kaplan, racing the Kaplan Racing Systems BMW M2 Club Sport, turned in a 228.540, so not all that far off of Scoggin. And then we had Matt O'Toole from Fall Line Motorsports and Joe Bowden from Fall Line Motorsports, also both in Porsche 911s in the mid 2-minute 30-second range over this 4-mile 14-turn course. In Touring 3, Gamel Aguilar Gomez out of Renton, Washington, in his Racer on Wheels BMW 330i, turned in a 235.583. He was the class of the class. Next fastest Touring 3 driver was J. David Oram out of Mercer Island, Washington, also in a 330i, and he turned in a 237.337. So just about almost 2 full seconds separating Aguilar Gomez and Oram. Third fastest driver, John Logitas from Heartland, Wisconsin, in his Ford Mustang, the ABCD, the after breast cancer diagnosis Ford Mustang, a 238.690. And then we had Steve Simchek and then Derek Chan running 4th and 5th in class, with Simchek in the low 39s, Chan in the low 41s. And then in Touring 4, your fastest driver, Robert Spence out of Ackworth, Georgia, in a Mazda MX-5. And we do have a car that has gone off in the kink. Actually, it looks like a couple of cars that have gone off at the kink. And it sounds like we might have a replay that we can take a look and see exactly what happened here. Okay. What we're going to see here is, we'll hopefully pull that up in just a moment. We can see one of the cars still there, disabled. I'll try and get the number on that car in just a moment for you. And the answer to that question is, at least one of them is the 59 machine. And I believe that is the car that's out there, as we are going to a full course caution. And the 59 machine, let's get attach a number. That is Robert Spence, who was your fastest T4 driver here this morning. And looks like a good amount of damage to that machine, as we've got emergency services vehicles on the scene there to try and get that car moved. So Spence was your fastest driver in Touring 4 this morning, about 0.6 of a second faster than Sergio Slobin out of Houston, Texas, in his Mazda Hoosier RPM Motorsports Mazda MX-5. Spence had a 244 flat, where Slobin ran a 244.64. Third fastest driver, James Eben out of Appleton, Wisconsin, in the Mazda Hoosier Lammers Racing Mazda RX-8. Eben ran a 244.9. And then we had Ryan Heichman out of Carlisle, Pennsylvania, in the Windsor Customs Mazda MX-5 at a 245.425. His teammate Chris Windsor from Thurmont, Maryland, at 245.731 was your 5th fastest Touring 4 car, as we are currently under full course caution here at Road America. And as we are now, let's see here, we're about 10 minutes into this first qualifying session. Let's do this. Let's first make a call to the grid for our next group, and then we'll take a little break and thanks to our partners and sponsors. Attention in the paddock, attention in the paddock. First call to the grid for race group number 2. That is Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, and Formula X. If you could please start heading to the grid. Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, and Formula X, please start heading to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. And before we go and take that break, we've just gone from a full course caution to a black flag all. So we're going to be bringing all of our racers down the pit lane here as we work to get that issue resolved, down coming out of the kink, coming out of turn 10. And so let's thank some of our partners and sponsors, and when we come back, we'll take you all the way, hopefully, to the green to the checkered flag, and hopefully we'll have more qualifying action here for our first group of the day here at the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region June Sprints. We'll be right back.
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA's Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant, customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. Realizing Hoosier's existence and continued success is dependent upon how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see one of our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Tire racing dealer nearest you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly designed for champions.
Hagerty is the official and exclusive insurance partner for the Sports Car Club of America. Hagerty provides affordable off-track insurance protection for motorsports vehicles while in the paddock, in transit, in storage, and at the shop. They provide guaranteed value coverage and even have protection for your trailers. SCCA members can save 5% on insurance through Hagerty. Learn more at Hagerty.com. Hagerty, let's drive together.
Ready for a new race trailer? Bravo Trailers is the exclusive trailer partner of the SCCA. Owned by longtime SCCA racers, Bravo Trailers work better, load easier, and tow better because we build them with racers in mind. Visit bravotrailers.com to see your new trailer in aluminum or steel.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit hawkperformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you? And welcome back to Road America for the 10th and final stop of the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. It's the WeatherTech 2003 Chicago June Sprints. I'm Gregg Ginsberg. I'll be taking you through qualifying all day long. We are currently under black flag conditions here at Road America, here with our first qualifying session of the afternoon, Touring 2, Touring 3, and Touring 4. And I think we have queued up now so we can see exactly what happened coming out of the kink and making the run down the Marines, down the Kettle Bottom. Let's take a look. Ooh, and that was a hard hit. And again, we believe that was the number 59 machine of Robert Spence out of Ackworth, Georgia. We saw there as he was trailing behind another car. Car got a little loose and came across to the wall. You know, very common that happens there at the kink. All right, so let's take a look. Because the one thing I haven't done yet is I haven't told you where we stand in qualifying. Is we do have a number of drivers that had turned in 2 flying laps here at Road America under very warm conditions, a little bit over 80 degrees right now, between 80 and 85 degrees. And in Touring 2, your fastest driver out of the moment is Alan Kossoff out of Prospect Heights, Illinois, driving his Porsche 911. That's a 996 chassis, a 238.039 that he turned in actually on his first flying lap. Joe Bowden, who was 5th fastest in qualifying this morning, also in a Porsche 911, a 228.290. So just about a quarter of a second separating those two drivers. Then we've got Brett Scroggin in his M2 Club Sport. Brett was our 2nd fastest driver this morning. He's currently your 3rd fastest driver with a time of 228.326. And so at the moment, all 3 drivers, Alan Kossoff, Joe Bowden, Brett Scroggin, faster than Scroggin ran earlier today. However, none of them have been able to get to Mark Bowden's bogey time of 226.910. Madison Aust, who we last saw at the Circuit of the Americas for a much earlier stop on the Super Tour. She is currently your 4th fastest driver. She's coming off a very successful weekend, just last weekend at Virginia International Raceway, running in the SRO World Challenge, and I believe she came home with 2 wins in the TCX class in a BMW. So great to have Maddie out here this weekend. Matt O'Toole, 5th fastest driver in a Porsche 911, one of the follow-line cars, with a 229.138. That's just about a second off of Kossoff's times. If we take a look at Touring 3, Derek Wagner, currently your fastest driver on track. He's out of Shaska, Minnesota, with a time of 2:35.541. Gamel Aguilar Gomez, who is our fastest driver in the class this morning, at 2:35.618. And again, if we take a look at the qualifying times here, Gamel Aguilar Gomez this morning was at a 2:35.583. And so for the moment, Wagner has bested that time. He is your provisional pole sitter in Touring 3. Aguilar Gomez a little bit off of his times from earlier today. He's at a 2:35.618. Then we've got James Berlin in the first of two Nissans. Berlin in a Nissan 370Z. He's out of Lakeville, Minnesota, a 2:36.684 the time for him. Derek Chan in the slightly older chassis, the 350Z, out of Rosemont, Minnesota, a 2:36.753. And then John Logitas in his Ford Mustang, a 2:36.793. In Touring 4, Michael LaMena, currently your fastest driver on track at a 2:55.780. And LaMena, let's take a look here. LaMena was your 8th fastest Touring 4 driver in qualifying this morning. Currently your fastest driver. Let's compare the times. LaMena has put in a 2:57.78. The fastest time this morning, a 2:44.097 put in by Robert Spence. So big difference there. LaMena's best time this morning was a 2:46.642. So looks like the Touring 4 class not quite getting up to speed. Kevin Fryer showing as being listed out of Bloomington, Illinois, but he's going to be, I believe he and his family moving to the Raleigh, North Carolina area right after the June sprints. Kevin, a 2:58.67, your second fastest driver. Then Ryan Heichman, Ryan Jakansky, and Jeremy Butts rounding out the top 5 in class. And we are still under black flag conditions here at beautiful Road America. Hopefully we'll be going back to some green flag racing soon enough. It appears as though we still have some of our emergency services vehicles doing some cleanup down at the exit of the kink, pardon me. And if you're interested in the touring car racing, they will be going racing for the very first time tomorrow. Scheduled start time 10:05 a.m. That is Central Time, so 11:05 Eastern Daylight Time. Please don't ask me to do the simple math to give you a Pacific time, but I assume it's probably 2 hours behind us here. So that would make it about 8:05 in the morning, probably Pacific time if you're out on the West Coast. And then our next group up here for qualifying, and we'll be racing second tomorrow, will be Formula Atlantic and Formula Continental and Formula X. By the way, our touring drivers, if you want to check in, they will be our first race up on Sunday morning for their championship, their June Sprints Championship race. Scheduled start time 8:15 a.m. Central Time on Sunday. And you can see there, looks like teams hopefully starting to wrap up. I see a lot of them jumping into the back of their trucks, maybe getting some last-second debris. A swift kick to that small piece of debris to kick it into the grass. And looks like teams may be back on their way. Yep, and we still have a couple of the vehicles there down on the exit. You can see we've got, looks like they're bringing, and I believe that's the 59 car that they are bringing up. This is coming through Bill Mitchell Bend over by turn 13, and there's a cutoff just past our cameras where they'd be able to bring that car back to the paddock. see they've put that diaper underneath the front of the car to keep it from spilling fluids over more of the track surface. You also notice that the emergency services teams did put down some oil dry drivers left. Coming out, and I believe that is where the Mazda ended up finally its final resting place over there. And we know that coming through the kink, the corner station there is going to be displaying a debris flag for at least a couple of laps to let the drivers know that there is that there may not be a pristine surface there on the outside. Now, speaking of pristine surfaces, of course, this is the very first event that the SCCA has run here at Road America at the National Park of Speed since the track was repaved this past fall. And we hopefully we'll see. We may see some track records fall over the course of the weekend. Of course, you don't see track records set in the SCCA during qualifying, and I will say that at least this morning we saw most of our run groups quite a bit off of the track record. All right, so getting word now that we are going to be sending the drivers back out on course here in just about a moment, and there you go, green flag now being displayed at the starter stand. And we should start to see cars coming off the pit lane now. And here they come. So all the while, the clock continued to run, and we are at about a little bit over 21 minutes out of 25. So let's do this. Let me make another call to the grid for our next group, because as long as Road America is, we're probably only going to get one more full lap of qualifying in for these racers. Attention in the paddock, second call to the grid for race group number 2, Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, and Formula X. Please head to the grid. Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, and Formula X. Please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. All right, so we've got the field now coming off the pit lane. You can see them heading down turn underneath the bridge at turn 2, what used to be the Briggs and Stratton Bridge, and now coming through turn number 3, and as they try to get some heat back in the tires after that extended time on the pit lane. And we see here, even on this outlap, some drivers having some issues, maybe braking a little deep into turn 5. Having to get not only the tires up to temp, but also get those brake pads and get the rest of the equipment up to temp as well, as they make that incredibly fast run down the moraine sweep towards turn number 5, and have to get it woed up just enough to then start heading right back up the hill towards that Corvette bridge in turn number 6. And looks like we may have lost one there. I think that was, take a look. It looked like, was that a Chevy Camaro that went off? And oh yeah, I think that might have been Brad Dahmer out of Sheboygan in the number 45 touring for Chevy Camaro. If that was Brad, he may just be taking an early exit going back home to Sheboygan. Yep, and that we just got confirmation that was the 45 of Brad Dahmer. And one of our Nissans a little late to head back out on track. That was, I believe, the Nissan 370Z of Steve Simchek in the 117 machine. We'll check that in just a moment. We've got a couple of Nissans out here for this session. Also, we've got Michael Dalton out of Evanston, Illinois, driving a Pontiac Solstice in Touring 4. I haven't seen a Solstice in SCCA competition since Mike Weatherford had one out a number of years ago. So we'll see how that car handles, as we have a few more drivers now rejoining the action again as time is running down here in qualifying. the 114 Porsche. That's a Porsche Cayman, I believe, is now on the pit lane. And that is Scott Sewell out of Fort Worth, Texas. And we have a car that is just went for a pretty wild ride, looks like, coming out of turn number 3, that downhill right-hander. And we'll try and get the number here as the checkered flag is now going to be displayed. And that was the 06 machine that we just saw go off over turn 3. That is Robbie Eglund out of Barrington, Illinois, in his Touring 2 Chevy Corvette, currently sitting 10th in class. As the checkered flag, as I mentioned, now being displayed. Last flying laps here will count over 4 mile, 14 turn Road America. We'll let a couple more of these drivers come across the line. In the meantime, while we do, let me make a final call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock, final call to the grid for race group number 2. That's Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, and Formula X. Please head to the grid. Race group 2, Formula Atlantic, Continental, and Formula X. Please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. All right, let's take a look, because I think we might have a replay of the Corvette going off at turn number 3. Let's take a look as they come underneath the bridge, head down the hill. It got pretty crowded there, well, and it wasn't unassisted. Looks like Mr. Edgewood had maybe a little help heading to the gravel trap there, and we'll see. I did not hear a call of contact from the corner station. They may not have seen that. They just saw the after effect. But we'll see how that plays out as some of the last cars now coming. I believe we should see there's a whole group now coming up, I think, out of Bill Mitchell Bend through turn 14 and now up the Road America straight. Here they come onto the front straight and across the finish line, taking the checkered flag, completing their qualifying session. So let's take a look and see how we finished up here in qualifying. Fastest driver in Touring 2 and our fastest driver of the afternoon here, Alan Kossoff in his Porsche 911, the Fall Line Motorsports car out of Prospect Heights, Illinois. His fastest lap time, a 2:28.039. That, although fastest in the session, was not fast enough to best Mark Bowden's qualifying time from this morning of a 2:26.910. So it looks like Mark Bowden will be your pole sitter when this group goes out for their race. Again, scheduled to start 10:05 Central Time tomorrow. Then Joe Bowden and Brett Scroggin, your second and third fastest drivers. Maddie Aust in her BMW M2, fourth fastest driver. Then Matt O'Toole and Aaron Kaplan, your top 6 in Touring 2. If we take a look at Touring 3, Derek Wagner in his BMW 330 out of Chaska, Minnesota, today had a 2:35, or this afternoon, a 2:35.541. And that was the fastest time on track in this session, and quite a bit faster. Let's see here. And when I say quite a bit faster, I mean like 0.04 of a second. Gamel Aguilar Gomez this morning ran a 2:35.583, and and Wagner a 2:35.541. So pretty darn close there. And Aguilar Gomez, even in this session, was only 77 thousandths off of Wagner's times, but the gap when you take those two qualifying sessions together, even less than that. Third fastest driver in Touring 3 was James Berlin out of Lakeville, Minnesota in his Nissan 370Z. And then in Touring 4, Sergio Slobin, fastest driver with in this session at a 2:40.283. And that is almost 4 seconds faster than he ran this morning. But more importantly, that 2:40.4 was 4 seconds faster than Robert Spence ran, although given what we saw in the damage, I don't know if Spence is going to have his car out for the races tomorrow. Chris Windsor, second fastest driver at a 240.9. Ryan Chikansky at a 241.887. All right, let's do this. We're going to take, before we come back for our next qualifying session, we're going to take another quick break. Thanks to our partners and sponsors, and we'll be back in just a few moments with our second qualifying session of the day, our first open wheel group of the day. You are listening and watching the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints from Road America, and we'll be right back.
Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, brakes, and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts both on the street and on the track. As official tire retailer of Sports Car Club of America since 1995 and sponsor of the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trials Nationals and National Tour, and Track Night in America, Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
Mazda Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your race weekend with Mazda Vineyards and learn more at enjoymazda.com.
Summit Racing Equipment, the official high-performance source and proud sponsor of the SCCA Road Racing Program, is celebrating its 55th anniversary as the world's speed shop.
Hagerty is the official and exclusive insurance partner for the Sports Car Club of America. Hagerty provides affordable off-track insurance protection for motorsports vehicles while in the paddock, in transit, in storage, and at the shop. They provide guaranteed value coverage and even have protection for your trailers. SCCA members can save 5% on insurance through Hagerty. Learn more at Hagerty.com. Hagerty, let's drive together.
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA's Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant, customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. Realizing Hoosier's existence and continued success is dependent upon how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see one of our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Tire racing dealer nearest you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly designed for champions.
And welcome back to the National Park of Speed Road America for the final round of the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. And it's a special one. It is the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. And next on the docket, we've got our first open wheel group, first of 3 this weekend. And heading out on track right now, our most powerful Formula cars. We've got the Formula Atlantics. We also have Formula Continentals. So we've got the 2 liters, we've got the 1.6 liters, and then we've also got our Formula X cars, which are made up of the X Formula Mazda machines, old USF 2000 machines as well. And they are all heading down the pit lane now. Actually, a number of them, as you can see there, have already taken to the track for their 25-minute qualifying session. And if we take a look at where things finished up this morning in the first session for these racers in Formula Atlantic, Jimmy Simpson out of Cicero, Indiana, driving his Cahill Motorsports Swift 016, put in a 2:03.583. Dudley Fleck also running the Cahill machine, a Swift 016. He's from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, a 2:03.944. So only about 0.45 of a second separating him. And then we had Chip Romer running not in a prototype car. We'll probably see him in his prototype car a little bit later today. Actually, I think in the prototype cars, we're probably going to see him tomorrow morning, now that I think about it, because I believe they are one of our sessions wrapping up qualifying tomorrow morning. But Chip Romer in the number 71 Swift 016, the Michelob Ultra machine. He's out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona, a 2:05.887. So about 2 seconds or so off of Simpson and Fleck. Then Shane Everett and J.R. Smart, your top 5. In Formula Continental, Michael Verison's many-time national champion in Formula V, racing again this year in Formula Continental. He's representing the Chicago region. He's out of Burlington, Wisconsin, driving a Van Diemen F2000. Turned in a 2:13.053. Which is almost 2.1 seconds clear of Devin Lasser, who is in a Van Diemen RFO2, and he's out of St. Charles, Illinois, turned in a 2:15.131. Tom Hope out of Downey, California, in his RFR, turned in a 2:15.458. And then we had Bill Johnson and Brian Tomasi, your top 5. And then finally in Formula X, matter of fact, we only had 2 Formula X drivers out on track today. We had Ken Denault out of Cedar Falls, Iowa, driving his Formula Mazda. And Ken turned a 2:25.014 is his fastest lap, whereas Jacob Vinkenmolder turned in a 2:26.744 as his fastest lap time. He's out of Spring Lake, Michigan, and also driving a Formula Mazda. As our drivers are coming across the line, completing their very first lap here out on track. This is they just completed their out lap. They're starting their first flying laps now. And if you want to see timing and scoring, of course, we have the timing and scoring up on the screen for you on the left-hand side with that beautiful ticker, newly updated for this event. Or you can always go to scca.com/live, where we have live timing and scoring for you online with 3 sectors and the speed traps here at Road America as well to give you all that information. You can also find us on Race Monitor and Race Hero as well. But if you want to find out the most information about what these drivers are doing on track, check out our timing system at scca.com/live. All right, it sounds like we might have had something happen, possibly. I think coming out of turn, yeah, we've got a yellow flag over at turn 9, so it sounds like, yeah, and I'm trying to see, and I think it may be, coming through the carousel. You can see just to the right-hand side of your screen where they are waving that yellow flag. I think as the drivers came underneath the Speedville Bridge and went into the carousel. I'm trying to get the car numbers now. All right, so the 05 car and the 171 that are off. Looks like from the sound of it, the 05 machine, that's Devin Lasser, is at this point dead stick and stuck. Yeah, and if you take a look all the way at just a little bit off center there, you can see in the gravel trap there on the outside of the carousel, that is Devin Lasser, driver of the 05 Van Diemen Formula Continental machine. The other car that was involved at the time, Jeffrey Antonelli in the number 171 Formula Atlantic out of Wheaton, Illinois. He went for a ride through the gravel trap as well, was able to get the car back out and continue. And we do have some emergency services vehicles responding, and they are already on the scene trying to get that Lasser machine out of the gravel trap there in the carousel. All right, also getting word that we've got a few calls so far. Bill Johnson's Van Diemen, the Formula Continental out of Leawood, Kansas. Some reports from corner stations that the car may be smoking quite a bit on the overrun, on the downshift. So we'll see. You know, certainly something that we might expect from a two-stroke motor, or maybe a Formula V, but typically not these four-stroke motors in the Swift. So we'll see how that plays out. But let's take a look at timing as it is going right now. Remember, we do have a portion of the course under local caution, but currently your fastest Formula Atlantic is Dudley Fleck, and Dudley, fast time for him so far, a 2:07.0. That is almost 4 seconds off of the fastest times from qualifying this morning. And again, shouldn't be that big a surprise, again, since we've got that local caution out right now. Then we've got Chip Romer in the number 71 Swift, a 2:07.437. And that is about 2 seconds off of where he was earlier today. And then Shane Kennett in his store, Formula 1000, or this is a Formula FB or F1000 car. He's out of Golden, Colorado, a 2:11.113. In Formula Continental, Michael Verisons with a 2:13.3. And that's about 3/10 off of where he was earlier today. Bill Johnson with a 2:17.709. And that is about 6/10 off of where he was this morning. But he also had Devin Lasser was a little bit fast, and Tom Hope, that were faster than he was this morning, that he's trying to leapfrog. He is definitely not there yet. And then in, again, Formula X, only 2 cars this weekend, with Ken Denault at with a 2:26.419, and Ken Vinkenmolder almost three seconds off of that time. Good batch of cars all coming out of turn 3 and making their way down the Marine sweep to turn 5. And here they come down and under braking. And we'll see here as 2 of them, for a moment there, considering going side by side under the Corvette bridge. Certainly not the fast way to go through turn 6 side by side. It tightens up considerably on exit there, and not uncommon to see drivers run off. As we've got the 74 machine who had come down the pit lane and appears to be getting ready to go out. And that was Dudley Fleck, our fastest driver so far here this session. But we're about 10 minutes into this 25-minute qualifying session. Again, still local caution over in the carousel just past the Speedville Bridge. right, tell you what, let's do this. We've got a little bit of a lull in the action, and we're still under that local caution. Why don't we try and fit a break in? And hopefully when we come back, we'll be green and ready to go here all the way around this beautiful 4-mile road course here in qualifying for our open wheel cars. First, let's make a call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock, attention in the paddock. First call to the grid for race group number 3, and that is Spec Miata. If you'd like to start heading to the grid, you now can. Spec Miata drivers, please start heading to the grid. So let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just a few moments. You're watching the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints from Road America. We'll be right back.
Ready for a new race trailer? Bravo Trailers is the exclusive trailer partner of the SCCA. Owned by longtime SCCA racers, Bravo Trailers work better, load easier, and tow better because we build them with racers in mind. Visit bravotrailers.com to see your new trailer in aluminum or steel.
For more than 100 years, Sunoco, SCCA's official fuel partner since 2001, has been fueling victories both on and off the track, which is why Sunoco has trusted to fuel over 50 series of racing, driving, and winning, including the SCCA National Championship runoffs, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRaceFuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS.
Get more bang for your buck at SummitRacing.com. Choose from millions of in-stock parts from over 1,500 name brands, parts for racing, street performance, trucks, plus tools, accessories, and more.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit HawkPerformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
All right, and welcome back to Road America and the 2023 WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. I'm Gregg Ginsberg, and looks like, well, that's the 171 machine waving from side to side as some of these drivers now trying to find their way around some of our emergency services vehicles here. But I believe that local caution has been withdrawn now at the carousel. So hopefully, as soon as we get that the 171 car, probably that wasn't the one. Was it the 170? No, probably it was the 05 car, not the 171. It was the 05 machine. As soon as they get that back, hopefully off track, we'll be ready to go back to green flag racing here, or green flag qualifying around the course. In the meantime, and while we were at break, I had a couple drivers that have been exceeding the 103 decibel sound limits here that we have at Road America. The 63 machine was one. That was Shane Kennett in his store F1000 machine, as well as the number 5 machine of Adrian Morrill in his Ligier, the F3 chassis that is out here as well. And it looks like we've got one more machine that's being shown that board for sound. Let's take a look and see who that is. And, well, that was the number 5 machine once again. Well, and it never stops, because now we've got the 1.8 machine that is I think going to be getting the soundboard. Our folks on the starter stand, they're getting their work in today here. You know, when they're done playing with soundboards, I don't know, maybe they hoist up the numbers when they change the prices at gas stations or something. I don't know. It's like the same thing. Yeah, it's going to be the 1.8 car that is going to get the soundboard as well, and that is Tom Hope in his Formula Continental machine. All right, so as we're now about just a touch over halfway. We're actually 15 minutes into this 25-minute session. Let's take a look and see where things stand. Dudley Fleck, currently your fastest driver in Formula Atlantic with a 2:07.058. Chip Romer, second fastest at 2:07.4. Steve Forer, now in his Swift 016, he's out of Milwaukee at a 209.6. Those are your three fastest drivers in Formula Atlantic, and Forer has picked up about 0.3 from where he was earlier today. Chip Romer and Forer was our sixth fastest Formula Atlantic in qualifying this morning. Chip Romer with his 207.43 he's about 1.6 seconds off of where he was this morning. And Dudley Fleck, who is our fastest driver on course this session with a 207.05, he is quite a bit off of where he was this morning. Terry Alpine now moves up to fourth fastest in Formula Atlantic in his Swift 014, the Toyota-powered machine out of Garfield, Washington, a 209.686. Our fourth fastest time today, and Alpine was our eighth fastest Formula Atlantic driver this morning, a 211.881 the time this morning, and now a 209.686. So he's dropped about 2.2 seconds, quite a bit faster. In Formula Continental, it is still Michael Verison's your fastest driver with a 212.990. And that is about 0.05 of a second faster than he ran this morning. So he's picked up a little bit of time there. Second fastest driver in Continental is Bill Johnson at a 217.7. And that is quite a bit off of Devin Lesueur's times, or Tom Hope's for that matter. Bill Johnson this morning ran a 217.163, and so he's about 0.6 off of where he was this morning as well. Mark Hutchison, your third fastest driver in Formula Continental out of Mukwonago, Wisconsin. Say that 6 times real fast. A 218.669 the time for him, then Tom Hope. And then finally in Formula X, again, Jacob Vinkenmolder out of Spring Lake, Michigan, a 222.151. Ken Denault, a 224.462. Both of those drivers running Formula Mazdas, and let's take a look at where they were this morning. Ken Denault was the faster of the two drivers this morning. He ran a 225.014 this morning, so both Formula X drivers considerably faster than where they were earlier today. Vinkenmolder earlier ran a 226.744, and like I said, he's down at a 222. So big pickups there for the Formula Mazda / Formula X drivers. And we had the number 18 machine on the pit lane. Remember, the 18 car did receive some warnings for sound here and cracking the 103 decibel barrier. Tom Hope, and he is, well, we'll see if he's going back to the paddock or not. We also have the 15 machine on the pit lane as well. And unfortunately, from where I stand, and Road America has certainly one of the longest pit lanes in road racing here in the United States. I can't see all the way down to the end and whether or not Hope is bringing his car back behind the wall or not. All right, so we've got just about 5 minutes remaining here in qualifying. Let's make another call to the grid for our next very large group. Attention in the paddock, attention in the paddock. Second call to the grid for race group number 3, Spec Miata. Please head to the grid. Race group 3, Spec Miata drivers, please head to the grid. And you'll see now we've got a few more emergency services vehicles that had responded to bring a car off. They're making their way down towards Canada Corner, and as they do, we now have a car that is pulled off driver's right over in Bill Mitchell Bend, and we could see the hand signals from the driver and from the corner workers there directly in front of us. Looks like that driver is going to need a tow at the end of the session. The only thing I haven't caught so far is the car number. As soon as I get that car number, I'll let you know. As you see, we've got the, and let's see if we can pick up the car that's on the back of that wrecker when it goes by. And unfortunately, could not get the number of that bus, so maybe we'll see it when it comes back up here and comes up the Road America straight into the pits. All right, the 18 machine has indeed gone back to the pits. His session is now done. And we're getting some reports from some of our corners that the 88 machine may be smoking. That is Sean Beaver in his store F1000. Might be smoking a little bit from the rear. We'll see what the story is with that. We can pick up that car. The 99 of Ken Denault, the Formula X entry, now on the pit lane. And with just a couple minutes left here in qualifying, doubt that he will be going back out on track. All right, getting word now that Marcel LaFontaine's Swift from Victoriaville, Canada, is also smoking a bit. He's currently your 14th fastest driver in Formula Atlantic, as we have a couple more cars. I think with all of these local cautions out, some of these drivers now starting to come in early, realizing that they're not going to set any faster laps than what they've done previously. All right, the number 3 machine on the pit lane, that is Tony Oppheim, who is your 4th fastest driver in this session in Formula Atlantic. You can see another machine coming down the pit lane as well, or coming up the pit lane here on the Road America straight. As we have less than a minute and a half remaining. All right, the clock winding down now, 30 seconds, half a minute remaining here in qualifying. We'll see as the majority of the drivers now have come down the pit lane to end their sessions. As you can see, coming through turn 5, coming underneath the Corvette Bridge, still some drivers out there coming into turn 7 as well. And actually, those are the racers that we just saw coming underneath the Corvette Bridge. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And into the hurry down. So it's like the same 3 cars every single corner. I should have picked up on that. But they'll be on their last flying lap here as the 25-minute clock just about to expire. And word has come down that the next car across the line will get the checkered flag. And luckily the starter had some time because they almost gave the blue flag by mistake. And here we go. Checkered flag is out on the session. First car to take the checker is the 46 of Brandon Schwartz in his Pro Formula Mazda Formula Atlanta car. Schwartz is going to finish up with a 2:31.2 as his fastest times. And as the rest of our field now comes up the Road America straight and to the checkered flag. And there are those cars that we were tracking a little earlier on the other side of the course. Let's take a quick look here in Formula Atlantic. Fastest driver on track, a 204.298 in the books for Dudley Fleck. And that does not get to Jimmy Simpson's 203.585 that he set this morning. So likely Mr. Simpson going to be your pole sitter in Formula Atlantic. Dudley Fleck, second fastest overall. Chip Romer turns in a 205.427 on his last lap. That is 0.4 of a second to the good compared to what he ran earlier today. He is your third fastest Formula Atlantic qualifier over 2 sessions. Then we've got, I believe, Steve Ford, a 2:0. Oh, no, let's take that back. It's going to be Shane Kennett, then J.R. Smart, then Steve Forer. Forer was your third fastest driver in this session, but sixth fastest, I believe, overall. When you take the 2 different sessions into account. And then Tony Oppheim, your fourth fastest driver today at a 209.686. If we take a look at Formula Continental, Michael Verison's a 212.990, and he is going to go into tomorrow's race as your Formula Continental pole sitter, second fastest driver in Continental, with a 2:15.131. That's a time that was set this morning. Devin Lasser in his Van Diemen. And then third fastest was Tom Hope, also set this morning, a 2:15.458. Bill Johnson was your second fastest driver in this session. However, Mark Hutchison, third fastest in the session, and Tom Hope was your fourth fastest here this afternoon. And then finally in Formula X, your pole sitter tomorrow with a qualifying time of 220.493 is going to be Jacob Finkenmolder out of Spring Lake, Michigan, and then Ken Denault with a time of 223.559, just about 3 seconds separating those 2 drivers. And again, our race tomorrow for Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, and Formula X, scheduled to start at 10:45 a.m. That's Central Time, so 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time. That is for the sprint race tomorrow, 25 minutes in length, and then the June Sprints Championship race for Formula Atlantic and Formula Continental and Formula X, scheduled to roll off 9:05 a.m. on Sunday. All right, so let's take a break. We'll be back here in just a few moments with our next group, and that is Spec Miata. Spec Miata drivers, if you haven't started coming up to the grid, you need to now. Your group is on track next. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening and watching the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints, part of the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. We'll be right back.
experience Road America in your own vehicle as you drive around the legendary 4-mile circuit and see the track from a racer's perspective? How about joining us for morning drives? This opportunity to showcase the track is free guided course, 3 laps of the entire race course. Valid driver's license is required. $25 per car. Limited space is available. Sign up for the next morning drive event July 21st or August 11th at roadamerica.com. Click Get. Quick Trip convenience stores and racing in Road America sounds like a perfect match for race fans. With over 400 stores in Wisconsin, Quick Trip has you covered with fresh bakery, grocery items, produce, take-home meals, and freshly prepared hand-breaded fried chicken made right at the store. Quick Trip also carries all your favorite beer brands and offers the lowest legal beer pricing at 24 30 packs. Quick Trip, got you covered. There's absolutely nothing pretty about a great car. Glosser microfiber wipes clean and wax at the same time, and the Glosser is available right here in the paddock shop. No time to wash, then gloss. Serving Appleton, Green Bay, Madison, and Milwaukee. Fox Cities and Finish Line Towing provide the best towing and battery service around. They're revolutionizing the towing industry by providing rapid service to help get you back on the road. So if you're looking for 5-star service, call your official towing provider of Road America on Towing today. They offer safe and quick services such as lockouts, jump starters, tire changes, and towing to get you back on the road. Fox Cities and Finish Line Towing serve Appleton, Green Bay, Madison, and Milwaukee. Skag Power Equipment is proud to be the official lawnmower of Road America. Cut your lawn mowing time in half with American-made high-performance.
Something burning or whatever. But then it's like, okay. Then we see the wrecker pulls out. He's basically blocking half of the track. You know.
Race fans know how to get out and see the ice cold mountain. Now we're going to all trackside concession stands here in America. Pepsi.
And we're back here at the National Park Speed Road America for the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints, part of the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. I'm Gregg Ginsberg, and it's qualifying day here at the Sprints, but we've got a lot of action lined up. First off, well, you can see all the action here on the pit lane is we've got probably somewhere around 55 to 57 Spec Miatas taking to the track now for their outlap and for their first and for their 25-minute afternoon qualifying session. But we've got 3 more qualifying groups after this tomorrow, and then we pick it all up again tomorrow. We wrap up qualifying, and then our 25-minute sprint races, 9 sprint races tomorrow, and then June Sprints Championship races on Sunday. And so with the Spec Miatas heading out on track right now, we had, like I said, around, I believe, 57 of them go out on track. But here's something that's a little different. So for 8 of our 9 groups, the qualifying sessions here on Friday both count towards setting the grid for tomorrow's sprint races. For Spec Miata, it's a little bit different. The first qualifying session, which we did not cover on air, will set the grid for tomorrow's 25-minute sprint race. This qualifying session will set the grid for Sunday's 13-lap or 35-minute championship, June Sprints championship race. And so let me tell you, we can tell you now what the grid is going to be for our Spec Miatas when they roll off for their 25-minute sprint race tomorrow. And that race is scheduled to start at 11:25 a.m. Central Time tomorrow. And the feature race, the June Sprints championship race, scheduled to start at 10 a.m. Central Time on Sunday. But let's run it down here and let you know how things finished up in qualifying. And we may be able to use some of these times to kind of gauge where racers are going to be here in this qualifying session. Our pole sitter for tomorrow's sprint race, Cam Eben, out of Appleton, Wisconsin, driving his Lammers Motor Racing tight squeeze racing Mazda Miata. He put in a pole setting time of 2:41.100, 15 thousandths of a second clear of Tom Brown. Tom's out of Muskego, Wisconsin, in the Sneaky Moose Motorsports Mazda Miata, a 2:41.115. Then only another approximately 700ths of a second back from there was Tyler Brown. Tom's in the 27 machine, Tyler's in the 07 machine, a 2:41.184 for Tyler Brown. Then we had Chuck McTudis from OPM Autosports, the OPM Autosports X Factor Engines Mazda Miata. He's out of Little Mountain, South Carolina, representing the South Carolina region, a 2:41.359. And then his teammate from OPM Autosports, Danny Stain, a 2:41.373. So again, only a couple hundredths of a second separating those two drivers. I saw them as I was having breakfast this morning over at the Gearbox. By the way, some of the best food in motor racing here at Road America. Stain and McTudis, much like we've seen them at VIR for the runoffs during qualifying and practice, literally inches apart all the way around this 4-mile, 14-turn course. Brent Kowalski was your 6th fastest driver. 2-time national champion Jim Drago, driving the number 2 machine, was your 7th fastest driver. Spencer Lofton, 8th. Alex Stanfield, 9th fastest. And Michael Carter making a return to Spec Miata racing after a number of years running in the Global MX-5 Cup. Michael Carter out of Savannah, Georgia, was your 10th fastest driver with a 2:42.139. So just about 1 full second separating our top 10 drivers. A little bit further back, Nick Bruni, our reigning national champion, has got the number 1 on the door. He was your 18th fastest driver. Todd Burris, former national champion in his own right, 14th fastest. And as we take a look a little bit further down through the field, here. Skylar Cottrell, who out of Atlanta, Georgia, who we've seen run top 10 a couple stops on the Super Tour, was the 35th fastest driver in a Century body and paint machine. And so a lot of people starting a little bit further back, I think, than they had expected for the Saturday race. Jordan Rick Segrini, who put on a very good showing at VIR a little bit earlier in the Super Tour season. He was actually running beyond that 115% threshold of our pole sitter, and he is currently, assuming he gets permission to race, going to start shotgun on the field in 57th. All right, so the field now working their first flying laps here, and again, they take about 2 minutes and 40 seconds, so we'll have them hopefully. We'll have some first times coming in. Want to thank everybody who has been checking in on the chat. We've got Tony Kart Racer, Brian Straczynski, who of course I think is here for every single one of our events. Thank you. We've got Mike Meathead Collins checking in from the West Coast. Thanks for joining, Mike. Of course, we know he's very, very invested, very interested in Spec Miata. So I want to thank all these great people, as my announcing partner, Brian Bielanski, who call you our associate producers. Thank you for joining in with us here today from Road Americas. We've got drivers now completing their first flying laps, and let's take a look and see how things are wrapping up, as we have a few drivers taken to the dirt and the gravel, coming out of turn 1, rolling down the hill towards turn 3. And it looks like some drivers still jockeying for position in that short run down the hill out of 1. With one flying lap in the books, Chuck McTudis is your provisional pole sitter for Sunday. Qualifying time of 241.853. His teammate Danny Stain, 23 hundredths of a second back. Then Matt Novak out of Bartlett, Illinois, third fastest with a 242.671. And then we've got Ethan Jacobs, Andrew Devoto, Alex Bertignoli, Michael Carter, Jonathan Davis, Miles Gertz, and Nick Bruni, your top 10, but very early on in the session. And you see here as these drivers, they're jockeying for position they're using the draft. We've got a number of drivers that have gone off. They're coming out of turn number 6, coming underneath the Corvette Bridge, going into turn 7. That's going to slow up a number of drivers there. That turn, and you see there's some dropping into the dirt and gravel coming out of turn 8, as well as they head underneath the Speedville Bridge into the carousel. Coming out of turn 6, underneath that Corvette Bridge, and let's take a look. And we've got a car off. Let me see if I can get the number on this car. And this is over by turn. This is actually over by turn 6. Oh, and this is actually just a call in for the. Yeah, we've got a car that is off over at turn 6, and I believe, and we'll see where that is. I think it may be. Yeah, it's right up. It's right up against the concrete. It is driver's right, and I thought I heard it as the 94 car, but I don't believe that is correct. I'll try and I'll get a rundown on it. It's actually, yeah, and I think it's actually just out of our view, just on the outside, the turn in, the entrance to turn 7, as we've got a driver, as you can see, coming down the pit lane right now. Again, I'll try and get an update on that car number for you, as we have drivers now completing lap number 2 here at Road America. And as they do, we'll try to fill you in on some times. Now, the gridding for this qualifying session, and by the way, the 14 car, the black 14 is the one that we just saw coming off track up into pit in. That's Alex Bertignoli out of Lakewood, Illinois. But the grid positions for this qualifying session were based on the lap times that were set in qualifying this morning. So you would think that these drivers, they're on track with drivers that are setting comparable lap times. We saw a lot of jockeying for position very early on, and that may affect, as the speeds start to pick up, may affect where some of these drivers are. As we have, looks like a driver that had just dropped a wheel coming out of 3. The 121 machine, yeah, it was 3 wide going up towards the Corvette Bridge. Not the fastest way to do it. The 121 machine at Callahan Coles out of Elm Grove, Wisconsin. He's taken his car down the pit lane. I think he's going back to the paddock as well. And here you see Jim Drago trying to make up a couple of positions. Very, very hectic and crowded coming through turn 8. I think that was, I thought that was Nick Bruni that might have dropped the wheel. He's in that group. As another driver dropped the wheel coming out of turn 7 out of the hurry downs. And you can see there going into the kink. Oh, and we've got a driver that's gone off on the exit of the carousel. You're going to have to see a lot of drivers then try to go around him. We did see, and I think they're coming into Canada corner now. Again, Stain and McTudis locked nose to tail, just millimeters apart. They are currently your 2 fastest drivers on track at 2:41.863. The provisional pole time for Sunday's race, Stain at a 2:42.080. As we now watch the field coming through Bill Mitchell Bend. And there, as they continue to go side by side through Bill Mitchell, and likely side by side in the 14 into the final corner. We've got a driver that's gone off, and we're trying to look what fell off, and I think he lost a wheel. Yeah, left rear wheel off on that car. Let me try and get a car number for you. And it is the 07 machine that lost that wheel. That is Tyler Brown. And Brown, you talk about driving the wheels off the car. Of course, Brown was your 3rd fastest driver in qualifying this morning for tomorrow's sprint race. And he's currently your 4th fastest driver in this session. And so we'll have hopefully have a tilt bed out there in just a few moments. All right, the 113 machine coming down the pit lane, and I believe that's the 2nd time down the pit lane for Alfredo Zidane out of Miami, Florida. And interesting to note, he had just run his fastest Sector 1 time, and actually had the fastest trap speeds going down into turn 5, and he now comes down the pit lane. But we're starting to see a lot of these drivers that are still, not content of where they are in line, and you see this huge pack. And I believe that's the Cottrell car sitting behind Nick Bruni, that pink machine in that large group. But still here, coming side by side through turn 7. Into the hurry downs, not the fastest way around. All right, so let's take a look. It's McTudis and Stain, who I mentioned. Jim Drago goes up into the top 3 with now a 2:42.511. So he is almost a half second off of our lead pair. Tyler Brown, again, he's not going to be completing any more laps. He is sitting 4th in the order. Cam Eben, who is your pole sitter for tomorrow's race, he is currently your 5th fastest driver in the battle for pole here this afternoon. Matt Novak, then Ethan Jacobs. And we are just about halfway through this qualifying session, the Spec Miata qualifying session, and we know we're going to have that local caution of 14 for a while. So first, let's make a call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock, attention in the paddock. First call to the grid for race group number 4. That's small bore, E production, F production, H production, GT light, and B-Spec. You can start coming to the grid. Race group 4, E production, F production, H production, GT light, and B-Spec drivers, please start heading to the grid. And let's thank some of our partners and sponsors that are bringing you all the action here this weekend for the 2023 WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints from Road America. We'll be right back.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit hawkperformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, brakes, and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts both on the street and on the track. As official tire retailer of Sports Car Club of America since 1995 and sponsor of the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trials Nationals and National Tour, and Track Night in America, Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
For more than 100 years, Sunoco, SCCA's official fuel partner since 2001, has been fueling victories both on and off the track, which is why Sunoco is trusted to fuel over 50 series of racing, driving, and winning, including the SCCA National Championship Runoffs, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRaceFuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS.
Shop anytime, anywhere with the Summit Racing app.
Mazda Vineyard.
For over 25
And welcome back to Road America and the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints, part of the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. I'm Gregg Ginsberg. I'm going to be bringing you qualifying action all day here today. And as we are still looking to get that car removed, we do have a couple cars on the pit lane. We've got the 199 car on the pit lane. That's Ethan Jacobs, and our reigning national champion Nick Bruni came down the pit lane as well. They had the hood up for a few moments, taking a look there. And he has, I believe, rejoined the fray. We'll have to see how that, if that is actually the case, or if he went back to the paddock. We'll know in a few moments if he turns another lap as our field here. And it looks like we just saw coming into the shot here up the Road America straight. We've got the 15 machine working with Jim Drago. That is Brett Kowalski out of Las Cruces, New Mexico. He's pushing the number 2 machine of Drago, currently your second fastest driver. Kowalski currently your 15th fastest driver. And it also looks like Stain and McTutis, your 2 fastest drivers to this point in the session. They're sitting right in the middle of a pretty large pack here, and I don't believe it's not in that lead pack that just went by out of turn 3, and I think that might be Jim Drago, who just ran wide coming out of turn 3. Indeed, it was Drago, so he's going to lose the push from Brett Kowalski, and I think a number of other drivers are going to go by, as we're having a lot of drivers go off over at turn 3 now. Let's see if we can get the number on that yellow car. Unfortunately, the yellow and silver car did not get the number on it. I'll see if our corner workers call in. But you can see now is as both McTutis and also Stain coming underneath another car going into turn 5, certainly willing to sacrifice the lap that they are currently on. And got word from the chat, and thank you, Jose, really appreciate it, that Jordan Rick-Segrini had some mechanical issues, and they think they've got it resolved. Let's take a look and see if we can pick up where Jordan Rick-Segrini is on track, if he indeed is on track. And Jordan Rick-Segrini currently running 29th in qualifying here for our Sunday race. Again, he's out of Boca Raton, Florida. Sitting about just about mid-pack as we had 57 cars set times. All right, As you can see there is we've got the emergency services team still looking to get that machine loaded up onto the rollback. All right, and Chuck McTudis, that's McTudis, pulls over out of the group that he's in, pulls driver's right, and he does that specifically to pick up his drafting partner, Danny Stain, going up the front straight. And Stain still trying to catch up to McTudis. They had Skylar Cottrell just off to his left. And there's Stain. You can see he now pulls in back, and he is 2 cars back from his teammate as he's trying to team back up with Charles McTudis, with Chuck McTudis with OPM Autosport. And again, those 2 drivers currently your fastest in the session. McTudis, provisional pole time, 2:41.853. Stain at 2:42.09. Jim Drago at a 2:42.511. These drivers, and there you go. Now McTudis and Stain together. But frankly, until they get that incident cleared over at turn 14, where we have the local caution coming up to the Road America straight, we're not going to see any fast times set. All right, let's do this. I think we've got a moment, we'll call it here, some excitement going into the kink here at Road America. Let's take a look. We're actually coming out of the kink. Goes for the long, long ride, and then picks right back up with his drafting partner, almost as if nothing ever happened. And it sounds as though we may be clear. Well, and I think we just had another driver go off towards the gravel over by the carousel. I just saw some big whiffs of dirt there. We'll see if they come all the way around, or if there is a call, or somebody may have just run wide on entry. But I believe also we may now be clear over at turn 14. Yeah, and we can see now turn 14 indeed clear. So I believe we are probably back to green flag racing all the way around here with just about 2.5 minutes remaining going qualifying. Let's do this while we've got this little bit of time. Let me make another call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock, second call to the grid for race group number 4. E production, F production, H production, GT Light, and B-Spec drivers, please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. Race group 4, small bore, that's E production, F production, H production, GT Light, and B-Spec drivers, please head to the grid. All right, we had a momentary local caution over at turn 7 as somebody went to the gravel trap and has now rejoined. And you can see now with these packs coming out of turn 3, making the run down the moraine sweep towards turn 5. Still a lot of jockeying for position. We have a lot of racers that are teamed up with other drivers that perhaps the positioning is not right. Maybe the pusher should be the puller, or the front car should be the back car, vice versa. But these drivers still trying to figure out the best order to set the optimal lap times here over the course. And we're seeing in some places here, and we've got another driver that is off at turn number 6 after the Corvette bridge joins back again with traffic. And I believe that car, judging by the paint job, has already been off there once before, as I think the prevailing weather here is just dust. As we're seeing around the race course now with only about 20 seconds remaining on the clock. We're going to see the checkered flag in just a few moments. Remember, when that checkered flag comes out, all the last flying laps here will count. As the last cars in that shot, we just saw McTutis and Stain still working together. They have not improved upon their times that they set earlier this session. Now, as the checkered flag is out, I will say that Danny Stain just sets overall best Sector 2 time. McTutis sets his personal best in Sector 2 as those two drivers are working along. And they are coming down to Canada now. But again, with some of the traffic in front of them, I don't know if they're going to be able to improve upon those times. They were a little bit, actually more than just a little bit, about a half second off their previous best times in Sector 1. So likely not going to be able to improve as the checkered flag is out, and we have a number of our drivers now coming up the Road America straight underneath that starter bridge. As we have a couple of drivers that called off their final flying laps. We just saw there the 41 machine, the 108 machine coming down the pit lane as well. That 108 machine, by the way, Jordan Rick-Segrini, who again was scheduled to start at the tail end of tomorrow's race. Jordan Rick-Segrini works his way up to 16th here in this field today. So it looks like the work that they did on that machine between this morning and this afternoon did a whole lot of good for him. Danny Stain called off his last flying lap as well, as did Chuck McTutis. So let's take a look here as we still do have, I think we still have a good number of cars that have not taken the checkered flag yet, but I believe most of the drivers up towards the top of the field have. Chuck McTutis, driver of the number 66 Mazda Miata out of Little Mountain, South Carolina. He is your fastest driver in this session. This session will set the grid for Sunday's June Sprints Championship race, 241.853. Danny Stain, a 242.090, 2300ths of a second, will start to his left on the front row. Jim Drago will start third, makes up the inside of row number 2 with Tyler Brown, assuming they can get that car fixed before tomorrow's race and find a way to make that a four-wheeled machine instead of a three-wheeled machine. He's scheduled to start on the outside of row number 2. Then Cam Evan and Matthew Novak, row number 3. Ethan Jacobs and Miles Gortz, row number 4. Michael Carter and Alex Bertignoli starting 9th and 10th in row number 5. Skylar Cottrell and Spencer Lofton, 11th and 12th. Todd Burris, 13th. Andrew Devoto, 14th. Jonathan Davis, 15th. As we mentioned, Jordan Rick-Segrini, 16th. Then Brett Kowalski, 17th. Nick Bruni, scheduled to start 18th in the field. That's your reigning national champion. Alex Stanfield, 19th. And Logan Stretch, the first of 3 stretches racing here in Spec Miata this weekend. We've got Logan, we've got his dad, Bob. And I believe the third car, before I say 3, I believe we've got the third machine out here. Maybe not this weekend. Maybe it's just the father and single son. But that will be your top 20. So we're going to take a little break. And first, we're going to make a final call to the grid for our next group. Attention paddock, final call to the grid for race group 4, E production, F production, H production, DT Light, and B-Spec. Please head to the grid. Race group 4, E production, F production, H production, GT Light, B-Spec drivers is your final call to the grid. Let's take a break and thank some of our partners. Actually, we're just going to take a break. No thanking partners and sponsors. We're going to let Road America do that. We'll be back in just a few moments with that small bore qualifying session here from the National Park Speed Road America, where you are watching the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints, part of the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. We'll be right back.
Next on the docket, group 4 for our prod groups, E prod, F prod, H prod. If you like things to go fast, you should try the Absorber. Champion telling drivers to car fast. Strat Motorplex coming up tomorrow afternoon. They'll get underway and be racing around the 7 o'clock time frame tomorrow night around the Briggs & Strat Motorplex. So spectator karting 92 tomorrow. Shuttle trams will conclude here at the 4 o'clock hour, so last chance to grab a shuttle if you need to go anywhere. Otherwise, it can be a little bit of a longer walk around the 640-acre facility. Welcome to Road America. For those of you just joining us, campers still pulling in this afternoon, so great to see you. Thanks for coming on this Friday afternoon for a fun, fast Friday. We'll see you for a satisfying Saturday tomorrow morning. We'll start right bright and early at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning as well. Group 4 qualifying coming up next here from America's National Park of Speed.
Welcome back, everybody, to the National Park Speed Road America and the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. I'm Gregg Ginsberg, and we've got our next group heading out on track right now. This is our small bore group. It's our production category racers, as well as GT Light, as well as B-Spec. And I think we've got some things to talk about here with this group, and we'll get to it in just a few moments. Some subtle surprises and some people in some cars that maybe we didn't expect to see, or we didn't know we'd be seeing. Some of the worst kept secrets in production car racing, maybe over the course of the summer, have now been revealed. But very large group heading out on track right now. We had here today 59 drivers. We had 57 drivers set qualifying times, 59 that are registered across a number of different classes. Let's quickly here, I'm going to try and get through some of them here, and we will break it down and try to break it down by class. And let's see, this is group number 4. Let's take a look, and we'll go and break things down by class. Let's start off with E-Production, where our fastest E-Production driver, Mark Brackey, in his number 89 BMW Z3. This is the car that Jesse Prather had run for a number of years and had won a number of national championships with. And it is showing now under Brackey's stewardship to be very quick as well. He put in a qualifying time of 2:30.324. Tim Schreier, your second fastest driver in the class, and Schreier driving his BMW 325 IS. He's out of Dubuque, Iowa, a 2:31.790. So 1 point, about a half a second separation between those two drivers. Aaron Johnson out of Lodi, Ohio, in his Honda S2000. The number 8 machine turned in a 2:33.497. So he's about 3.1 seconds off the provisional pole time set by Brackey. Then Lance Laufman in a Datsun 240Z, Joe Rainey. We had 11 drivers in E-Production put in times today. In F-Production, Mason Workman out of Canal, Winchester, Ohio, in his Mazda Miata, gave us a time of 2:33.666. That was the fastest of the bunch in F-Production. Doug Weaver, 55 hundredths of a second back from there. He's out of Chatham, Ontario, Canada, also driving a Mazda Miata. Ken Kennard in his Acura Integra. This is the former Mark Carpenter car that had won 2 national championships previously, and also, I believe, took a podium after that under another driver, a 2:34.825, 1.1 seconds off of the provisional pole. David Strittmatter in his Acura Integra, 2:36.1, and then Ed Hosney in a Honda CRX, 2:38.027. In F-Production, a huge F-Production field, 18 cars here this weekend racing in H-Production. In H-Production, our reigning national champion, and he's driving the number 20 Volkswagen GTI. He's out of Wheaton, Illinois, a 2:40.364, 28 hundredths of a second up on, again, the worst kept secret in production car racing, Jesse Prather, in his brand new to him Mazda 2. Jesse turning a 2:40.646, and if you saw his YouTube channel earlier this week, said this is the place. If you're going to measure yourself against the best racers, there are 2 places to do it. It's here at the June Sprints, and it's at the National Championship Runoff. So Jesse, with his first outing in the Mazda 2, out of the box, second fastest, and almost 3 full seconds faster than multi-time national champion Steve Sargis. Sargis with those great battles at VIR this year at the runoffs with Chris Shaftsma. Sargis, your third fastest driver, 2:43.4. Then Greg Gopper out of Hubertus, Wisconsin, in his Honda Civic SI, the third-gen Honda Civic, 244.225. He was fourth fastest. 6 drivers in the class. Then in B-Spec, we have 22 B-Spec racers here this weekend. Rob Bakarczyk in his Honda Fit. Talk about a horse for the course here with the long straights at Road America, 253.57. His qualifying time, 2/10 of a second up on 2019 national champion John Phillips in his four-door Toyota Yaris. Joe McClugan in a Mazda 2 at a 254.1 was your third fastest driver. Then Kent Carter also in a Mazda 2. David Doherty brings out the Honda Fit this weekend. He is also many-time national champion, multi-time in B-Spec as well. 5th fastest. Gail Corley, 6th fastest. Stephanie Anderson, 7th fastest. And I'm somewhat surprised by the number of Mazda 2s they're sitting towards the front of the field. They're not exactly known for being, being the speed demons in a straight line. So we'll continue to watch that as our drivers now are working their first flying laps here at Road America. As a matter of fact, we've just had our first drivers cross the start-finish line and complete their first flying laps. We'll check those out in just a moment, and we'll compare them to their earlier qualifying sessions in just a moment. And getting word from one of our corners now that believe it's the 1-1 MG midget, the F production midget of David Brown, is off course, and there he is coming out of the carousel, making the run down to the kink, and he is right up against the concrete wall, and there he shall likely stay for the entirety of the session. And that machine was your 6th fastest F production car in qualifying this morning. And again, as opposed to the Spec Miatas that we had out on track just a little while ago, the fastest time from either the morning qualifying session or this qualifying session will set the grid for tomorrow morning's sprint race. And we expect to have our production, did I say tomorrow morning? I'm going to say tomorrow afternoon. Our production GT Light and B-Spec racers scheduled to go out for their sprint race tomorrow at 1 p.m. They will be our first race after lunch. And hopefully we're going to have a special guest here for that race. I'll lay it on the line now. He is our Grand Marshal for this weekend, and SCCA Hall of Famer Mark Webber. So hopefully he'll join us. He's going to be he's got Grand Marshal duties this weekend, as opposed to having his number 50 F production Mazda Miata out on track. But I'm sure we'll see him race at the runoffs this year. He was out for a number of other events on the Super Tour, but we'll be happy to have him in the booth with us here tomorrow. But again, this group will race tomorrow at 1 p.m. and then they are scheduled for their June Sprints Championship race at 10:50 on Sunday morning. All right, so let's check in and see where we stand currently. Your fastest driver currently on course, driving his E-Production BMW Z3. It is John Brackey with a qualifying time of 2:31.323, and that is almost exactly a full second off of what he turned this morning. But again, somewhat early, as these drivers are just now, the F production, or probably the E production drivers, just now completing their second flying laps. Tim Schreier puts down a 2:31.594. And that is about 2/10 faster than he ran this morning. Aaron Johnson in his Honda S2000 at 2:35.26. And that is about 1.8 seconds off of what he ran earlier today. So he's still getting up to speed. In F production, Ken Kennard in his Acura Integra, currently your fastest driver on track, with a 2:35.623. And that is 2 full seconds off of Mason Workman's provisional pole time that he set this morning. Doug Weaver, our second fastest driver on track. Doug has a 2:35.753 as a fast lap, and that is about 1.5 seconds off of where he was this morning. And then Mason Workman at a 2:36.159. That's your top three in F production. In H production, Steve Sargis. And you know what? I forgot to talk about GT Light. We'll get back to GT Light in just a moment. Though Steve Sargis, your fastest H production driver currently at a 2:39.923. And that is faster than the time Shaftsma set this morning. Shaftsma had a 2:40.364. And so Steve Sargis, your new provisional pole sitter in H production. Jesse Prather with a 2:45.48. That is almost exactly 1/10 of a second faster than he ran this morning. So still good for third fastest over the course of the two qualifying sessions. Shaftsma has the third fastest time at the moment at a 2:40.795. So let's move over to GT Light, which I excluded this morning from our rundown of this morning's times. We had two GT Light cars head out on track. We had Graham Fuller and Eric Vickerman. Fuller in his second gen, his EF Honda CRX. He's out of Summit Point, West Virginia. He turned in a 2:46.73, and that was quite a bit faster, almost 10 full seconds faster than Eric Vickerman's Mazda MX-3. And I believe that's a brand new car for Vickerman here this weekend. I haven't seen this MX-3 out on track. He's out of Howell, Michigan. Let's take a look now, as we've got Fuller and Vickerman here in this session, but we also have Jonathan Stalser in a Toyota Corolla. Stalser turns in a 2:53.125. So for the moment, he is he's qualified second in GT Light as Eric Vickerman just crosses the stripe best he can manage at this point on the second flying lap at 2:57.59, which is slightly off, actually almost 9/10 of a second off of what he ran this morning. And in B-Spec, where do we stand currently? Your fastest B-Spec driver right now is Stephanie Anderson with a time of 2:54.34 in her Mazda 2. That is about 8/10 of a second off of Rob Bakarchik's provisional pole time from this morning. And then we've got John Phillips. He was second fastest this morning. He's second fastest currently with a 2:54.500. And that is about 8/10 off of where he was this morning. Then we've got Stuart Black in his his Chevy Sonic. He's out of Greensboro, North Carolina. Stuart with a 2:54.557. And Stuart earlier today was down at a 2:54.356. And so he's about 2/10 off of where he was. But I should note that 2:54.356 that he ran this morning, that was only good for 8th fastest in B-Spec. So we'll see if any of these drivers, as it is definitely later in the day, definitely a little bit warmer, certainly a little more humid as well, whether or not they'll find some time. And with B-Spec, very, very much draft dependent. All right, so we're just about halfway through this qualifying session here. Let's make a call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock, attention the paddock. First call to the grid for race group number 5, Spec Racer Ford Gen 3. Please start heading to the grid. Spec Racer Ford Gen 3 racers, please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. And we're going to take a little break and to thank some of our partners and sponsors that are bringing you coverage this weekend of the 2023 WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints here on SCCA.com. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA's Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant, customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. Realizing Hoosier's existence and continued success is dependent upon how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see one of our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Tire racing dealer nearest you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly designed for champions.
Mazza Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your race weekend with Mazza Vineyards and learn more at enjoymazza.com.
Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, brakes, and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts both on the street and on the track. As official tire retailer of Sports Car Club of America since 1995 and sponsor of the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trials Nationals and National Tour, and Track Night in America, Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
For more than 100 years, Sunoco, SCCA's official fuel partner since 2001, has been fueling victories both on and off the track, which is why Sunoco is trusted to fuel over 50 series of racing, driving, and winning, including the SCCA National Championship Runoffs, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRaceFuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS.
Welcome back to Road America, the National Park of Speed, for the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June sprints. I'm Gregg Ginsberg, and here in the middle of qualifying for our production car classes, GT Light and B-Spec as well. We've got two drivers on the pit lane right now, getting some service, having crews check tire pressures. We'll see if they return to action. One of them is Mason Workman. He is your fastest driver currently on track for in F production. Has a qualifying time right now of 2:35.169, and I believe that improves upon what he ran earlier today, where he nope, it does not. His time earlier today, and he's still your provisional pole sitter, was a 2:33.666. And then we also have Greg Gopper in his H production Honda Civic. Greg is currently your fourth fastest driver on track in H production with a 2:44.556. And again, earlier today, he was your fourth fastest driver at 2:44.225. So, as I said before we went to break, times are a little bit, for most of our drivers, I think a little bit off of where we were this morning. Gopper is out of the car over at the Goodyear 10th as the Goodyear crews are looking over, again, those tire pressures. But I'm thinking at this point that Greg is done for the session. All right, let's take a look at where we are. As we mentioned, here, Mason Workman, your fastest driver. We are also now seeing Jesse Prather come down the pit lane. Prather in the number 34 H production Mazda 2. He's out of Topeka, Kansas, and your reigning E-Production national champion. Won that national championship in the same BMW Z3 that John Bracke is racing currently, or qualifying in currently. Prather pulls the car in with a qualifying time of 2:40.548, and that is faster than he ran earlier this morning, where he had a 2:40.646. So he's continuing to find time in that number 34 Jesse Prather Motorsports Sunoco Mazda 2, but he hasn't been able to get into Steve Sargis territory. Sargis now in his Triumph Spitfire. He eclipses Shaftsma's provisional pole time from this morning. That time that Shaftsman put in, again, a 2:40.36. Sargis now out, the first of our H production drivers, into the 2:39s with a 2:39.923. That's going to be awfully tough to beat. We've got another car coming down the pit lane now. That is the 01 machine. That is Jeff Anderson out of Zion, Illinois, in his Porsche 944, currently sitting 10th in class. And the Z3 of John Bracke now on the pit lane as well. The 89 car, your provisional pole sitter in E-Production. Now having the good folks from Goodyear take a look at his tires, and he has a fast lap this session at 2:31.323, and that's almost exactly a full almost exactly a full second off of what he ran earlier today. A 2:33.24 was his time earlier today. So yeah, he's 1 second and 1/1000th off of where he was earlier. Let's jump over to B-Spec. Stuart Black, your fastest driver on track in the Honda Civic, or I say it again, not a Honda Civic, a Chevy Sonic. And those are the big bore cars in B-Spec, and I think they're 1.8 liter motors in them, and they were always thought to be probably the fastest cars in a straight line here. And Black turns in a 2:54.004. That is still, though, almost a half second off of Rob Pekarchik's provisional pole time that Pekarchik set in the Honda Fit this morning. David Doherty now moves up to second fastest in B-Spec in his, this time it is a Honda Fit. He's out of now McCordsville, Indiana, having moved to the Midwest, I think about a year ago, from South Carolina. And Doherty now a 2:54.230 as his fastest time. That 2:54.230 does still only good enough for fifth in class. He actually ran about he ran 0.08 of a second faster this morning in the first qualifying session. But John Phillips, Joe McClugan, Kent Carter, the Yaris driver, and the two Mazda 2 drivers still have faster times in the books from this morning. Let's check back in with GT Light, where we had 3 drivers out for qualifying this morning, and I believe all 3 drivers still on course. Fastest of them, Graham Fuller, with a 2:42.555. And that is, of all these classes where I'm saying that the drivers aren't getting any faster than they were this morning, at least at the top of the field, Fuller has knocked a ton of time off of what he ran this morning. The time that Graham Fuller set this morning, a 2:46.737. He is now down to a 2:42.555. So he has knocked almost 4 full seconds off of his provisional pole time in GT Light. Jonathan Stalzer, a 2:50.335, so 7.7 seconds off of Fuller's best time today. And then Eric Vickerman at a 2:50.579. And Vickerman, in that Mazda MX-3, he has found a considerable amount of time as well. He ran a 2:56.63 earlier today, and so he is knocked now almost exactly 6 seconds off of that time. So we've got a car that has gone off on the outside of turn 14, off of the final corner, leading on to the Road America straight, and he's going to come across the track, come up the pit lane. And we will get the number on that car. That is the Honda CRX of, I believe that's Ed Hosney in the 13 machine. That orange and black second-gen Honda CRX. We'll get the number as it comes along. Is John Brackey, looks like he's bringing his BMW Z3 now back behind the wall. So his qualifying session is now done. Yeah, and indeed, it's the orange number 13 of Hosney. Currently your 4th fastest F production racer here in this session. He's out of Hilliard, Ohio, and has a best time this session of 2:37.906. And Hosney was 5th fastest earlier today at a 2:38.027. So he has definitely found some time, but he has not been able to set a faster time than David Stripmatter did this morning. The Acura Integra driver is still sitting on a 2:36.103, and Stripmatter has only been able to get within about 2 seconds of that morning time. Currently 5th fastest in this session. And we're starting to see in E-production, a majority of the drivers have taken their cars behind the wall. One exception, Tim Schreier, in his BMW 325 with a 2:31.584 as a fast time. But Brackey ahead, Aaron Johnson behind, all heading back to the pits. All right, as we now have, well, the clock is just about to tick down to 0. We're going to see the checkered flag out in just a moment. Let's make a final call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock, final call to the grid for race group number 5, Spec Racer 4 Gen 3. Please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. Spec Racer 4 Gen 3, as the checkered flag flies, please head to the grid. Your session is next. All right, so the first driver to cross the checkered flag, the number 95, James Samaras, in his F Production Mazda Miata. He's out of Lisbon, Wisconsin. He is currently your 6th fastest driver in F Production. And all following drivers will take the checkered flag. Their flying laps will count. As a number of our B-Spec drivers now cross the line, and as we have a few more drivers cross, we'll check these qualifying times and try to reconcile them against our times from earlier today. All right, let's take a look here. So in B-Spec, Rob Pekarczyk, he is going to start as your B-Spec pole sitter tomorrow with a qualifying time of 2:53.571. John Phillips should start second in class with Joe McClugan in his Mazda 2 third. Kent Carter should start 4th in B-Spec. Again, don't hold me to all these. These are unofficial, and I can't do simple math in my head, so I'm kind of winging it right now. But that is how B-Spec should be. Let's move over now to H Production, where Steve Sargis with his 239.923, he should be your H Production pole sitter. Then Chris Shaftsma will start second based on his times from this morning at 240.364. Then we've got Jesse Prather at 245.48. And Greg Gopper should start 4th in H Production in his Honda Civic. In GT Light, Graham Fuller with a qualifying time of 242.555 will be your pole sitter in class. Jonathan Stalzer, 2nd fastest in his Toyota Corolla at 253.35. His fast lap time. Again, Jonathan did not go out for qualifying this morning. And then Eric Vickerman in his Mazda 3 will start 3rd in GT Light. Now, if we move over to F Production, Mason Workman is your pole sitter, or should be your pole sitter, with a qualifying time set this morning at 2:33.666. Then we've got Doug Weaver in his Mazda Miata. Again, qualifying time set this morning, 2:34.217. Then Ken Kennard, who was 2nd fastest in this qualifying session, but based on the time set this morning, he should start 3rd in H Production with a time of 2:34.825 in this session here. He was actually about 0.6 of a second off of that time. And then we've got, I believe, let's double check here. Then we have Doug Weaver in his Mazda Miata from Chatham, Ontario, Canada. He leapfrogs David Strittmatter. Weaver should start 4th in F Production. And then finally in E Production, Tim Schreier ends up with the fastest time of the session. Actually beats out John Brackey in this session, but is it going to be enough to take over provisional pole in E Production? John Brackey this morning ran a 2:30.324. The best Tim Schreier could manage today, a 2:30.903. So it's going to be Brackey on the pole. Tim Schreier should start next to him on the outside of row number 1. Then we've got Aaron Johnson in his Honda CRX, who had a fast time of 2:33.497. He set that this morning. And then Lance Laufman in his Datsun 240Z, 4th fastest in E Production with a 2:35.262. A 2:35. 4:05. He actually knocked 2 seconds off of what he did this morning. All right, so that's going to wrap things up for our small bore category. Next up is going to be the Spec Racer 4 Gen 3s. Again, small bore, you can see their races tomorrow, scheduled to race at 1 p.m. And then again on Sunday at 10:50 a.m. both times Central Time. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have those Spec Racer 4 racers on track. You are listening and watching the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints, part of the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour here from Road America, and we'll be right back.
America. Kunis RV is Wisconsin's largest RV dealer with over 1,500.
Well, I mean, it's painted in a burgundy color, but it is definitely registered under Mr. Bracky's name. So we'll see, and I'll try and check into that tonight and see if I can get some definitive answers for you. But heading out on track right now, our largest field by far. 70, at least 75 cars deep. We had 75 set times this morning, 76, well, didn't set a time, but they are heading out on track right now, and that is Spec Racer Ford Gen 3, headed up by Sandy Satullo, who was our fastest driver here this morning, turned in a qualifying time of 228.685. Then we have Bobby Sack, who took a national championship here just a few years ago out of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, his home track. Bobby turned in a 228.694, 9/1000ths of a second off of Satullo's time. Then we had Denny Stripling out of McKinney, Texas, driver of the number 141 machine, a 228.716, and I believe this is his car. We have been seeing him running the, I don't want to call it the spare car, the backup car, the sister car of Charles Russell Turner for the last couple of events, including at Watkins Glen just a few weeks ago. Caleb Schrader, who is, along with Bobby Sack, one of our track record holders here at Road America in Spec Racer Ford Gen 3. He's out of Tigard, Oregon. Caleb was our fourth fastest driver, a 229.263. Then Todd Vanacore, fifth fastest. Calvin Harris from Portland, Oregon, one of the many Harrises in that race, Spec Racer Ford Gen 3. Calvin was our sixth fastest driver. Jace Petty out of Oakland, Illinois, seventh fastest. Brian Schofield, former national champion. Grant Vogel, they were 8th and 9th. And then another national champion, Mike Miserandino from Bakersfield, California, was your 10th fastest. And please don't ask me to read down and let you know where all 75 drivers ended up. But our racers now, they have just started to complete their outlap, starting their first flying laps here at Road America. And we're getting word there's at least one driver that they're looking to meatball, I think, very early on in the session. I'll see if I can get the number on that car. Get the number on that car. And we can see some drivers now as they come through turn 7 into the hurry downs. They're still trying to scrub in some tires, still trying to get heat in the tires. Yeah, it sounds like the 86 machine, actually the 77 and the 36, Andre Pera and Kelly Toombs, who qualified 17th and 18th this morning, had some issues, and both spun their cars, and I believe this was over at over by turn 1. So yeah, and they've both continued. Yeah, and so the car that they were going to give that mechanical the meatball for is the 1.7 machine of Dean Cunningham out of Chicago, Illinois. Dean was our 28th fastest driver earlier today, and they think that machine has been dropping some fluid out on the outlap. And getting word here whether or not they are going to black flag that car. Yeah, and they are going to meatball the 1.7 machine, that they do want that car down the pit lane. All right, so as we've got now, let's see here, we should have our first flying laps reported here in just a moment. And Mike Miserandino goes, at least briefly, to the top of the leaderboard but that doesn't last long. When I said there were the many Harrises here, and we've got some other drivers coming down the pit lane. I think Bobby Sackett, Sandy Satullo actually now coming down the pit lane. A lot of drivers rolling down the pit lane, and I think at the speeds they're carrying, I think looking to queue up with a nice gap in traffic. But Todd Harris, your provisional, your fastest driver in the session at a 2:32.796. Again, that's with just a single flying lap, and that's almost 4 seconds off of the provisional pole time set by Sandy Satullo this morning. Then Taylor Harris, Liam Snyder, former national champion in Formula Enterprises 2, the Joshua, Texas native with a 2:32.933. Then Henry Tabor, Mike Miserandino, who briefly was sitting at the top of the leaderboard, now your 5th fastest driver, the Matt Gray, J.M. Bufamonte, Chris Jennerjohn out of Hartford City, Indiana, Scott Monroe, Justin Elder, currently your top 10. But again, only a single flying lap in the books here in this 25-minute qualifying session. And both this session and the session this morning, fastest times from either, are going to be what sets the grid for the Spec Racer 4 Gen 3 race. They are going to have their 25-minute sprint race scheduled to start tomorrow at 1:40 p.m. Central Time. That's 2:40 p.m. Eastern Time. And then their June Sprints Championship race for Spec Racer 4 Gen 3 scheduled to start Sunday at 12:45. All right, we've got a car that is spun off coming out of the carousel, and you can see there coming underneath the bridge there and impacting the wall. Driver's right, and we'll try and get a number on that car in just a moment. But we are going to have a local caution, obviously, coming out of the carousel. And we're still trying to get a number on that car. Yeah, and unfortunately the corner station there, all they can see is the back end of the car, so can't get a number on it currently. As soon as we find out, we will let you know. But again, we are under local caution, and we do have emergency services vehicles responding. You can see them now coming out of the carousel and heading over to that vehicle. Currently, fastest drivers on track. David Dickerson out of Wall, New Jersey, your fastest driver, a 2:30.897 is the time in the books, and that is still 1.2, actually 2. Actually, let's see if I can do math. It's 2.2 seconds off of the provisional pole time that Sandy Satullo set yesterday. Brian Schofield, 2nd fastest driver on track, currently 38 thousandths back from Dickerson with a 2:30.935. John Jansen, a 2:31.744. With Kelly Toombs, Mark Snyder, another one of the Snyder brothers, in Snyder Brothers Racing, a 127, the 127 machine. He has a 2:32.74 down in this early on in this session. Ben Jacobs, Todd Harris, Jace Petty, Mike Miserandino, 9th fastest now, and Taylor Harris, who we've had our fastest outlap. Congratulations, Taylor. He is your 10th fastest driver on track currently, and of course with that local caution coming out of the carousel, likely not going to see any fast laps set. All right, so let's do this. We're about a little bit over 10 minutes into this qualifying session. Why don't we take a little break? We're going to thank some of our partners and sponsors, and when we come back, hopefully, we'll be in a position to go back to green flag qualifying here at Road America for Spec Racer 4 Gen 3. as you are watching the 2023 edition of the WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints live from Road America, and we'll be right back.
Hagerty is the official and exclusive insurance partner for the Sports Car Club of America. Hagerty provides affordable off-track insurance protection for motorsports vehicles while in the paddock, in transit, in storage, and at the shop. They provide guaranteed value coverage and even have protection for your trailers. SCCA members can save 5% on insurance through Hagerty. Learn more at Hagerty.com. Hagerty, let's drive together.
Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, brakes, and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts both on the street and on the track. As official tire retailer of Sports Car Club of America since 1995 and sponsor of the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trials Nationals and National Tour, and Track Night in America, Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit HawkPerformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
Winning takes work. Getting parts is easy. SummitRacing.com.
For more than 100 years, Sunoco, SCCA's official fuel partner since 2001, has been fueling victories both on and off the track, which is why Sunoco has trusted to fuel over 50 series of racing, driving, and winning, including the SCCA National Championship runoffs, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRaceFuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS.
Welcome back, everybody, to Road America, the National Park of Speed, the house that Cliff Tufte built, or the park that Cliff Tufte built. I'm Gregg Ginsberg, and we are here. We've got this session and one more qualifying session here today on day one of the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. And we currently have a local caution coming out of the carousel as we've got the emergency services teams attending to driver who had gone off track. There they are, sitting underneath the bridge there, or just past the bridge. And we just saw something come up which really piqued our interest, I guess. Here we currently had two drivers that had had identical lap times as and they were the two fastest drivers on course. We had Bobby Sack and I have to roll it back. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, Bobby Sack and Sandy Satullo that had both turned in a 2:29.099. The same track time, same lap time here. Not as fast as what Satullo had run earlier today, I might add, where he had turned in a 2:28.685, and we're not quite there yet, as Satullo has actually just put in a 2:29.023. So we're getting closer. But the reason why it piqued our interest is, and we have a driver. It looks like they went off at the kink and kicked up quite a bit of dirt, trying to get a little bit of vision through there, having our Days of Thunder moment, trying to determine whether or not there's still a car there. And it looks like they were able to, I don't know about recover safely, but they recovered and continued on. But the reason why it piqued our interest that Satullo and Sack had run identical times is, well, currently Satullo is underneath the track record in Spec Racer Ford. But Spec Racer Ford is the only class that I know of where we have co-track record holders here at Road America. We have Caleb Schrader out of the Oregon region, and Caleb is on track currently, as well as Bobby Sack, that set identical lap times last year at the June Sprints with a 2:29.786. And so they both hold the track record here. And we'll see if, again, with this paved track, whether or not anybody can beat it in race conditions, as we see Bobby Sack heading up the, or probably that was Brian Schofield, heading up the Road America straight up the hill. But at the moment, Sandy Satullo, he's underneath that track record. And his fastest lap up, and we've got a driver, it looks like they went wide coming out of turn 7, down the Hurry Downs, and I think can we tell if they are in that gravel? Yeah, I'm trying to see. It looks like we had the local caution there for just a moment, and now I think that was to cover that incident over coming out of the carousel, and I think now we just saw that yellow pulled out. Let's take a look, if we can, Director Zach, and see if we still have vehicles there over by 14. I think they've started to clear the area, and we see them now making their way. They've just come through the kink, and so I think we are... yeah, as we just had a driver go around at turn 8. But I think that incident that we had over underneath the bridge coming out of the carousel is now clear. And so we've got the emergency vehicles bringing that car back home. So we're going to have a white there, but we should see him there in a second. Let's do this. Let's make a call to the grid for our final qualifying session of the day. Attention in the paddock. Attention in the paddock. First call to the grid for race group number 6. That's Formula V, Formula 600, and Formula F. Please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. Race group number 6, Formula V, Formula 600, and Formula F drivers, please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. All right, so I believe our emergency services team have now brought that car home, so we should be, well, let's see, we've got the local, actually white flag still hanging there at Bill Mitchell Bend over at turn 13, which tells me that our emergency services teams have not left the surface yet. And now that white flag is pulled down. Now I think we are back to a green flag running here all 4 miles at Road America, as we've got just about 6.5 minutes remaining in qualifying. And we just had the, I believe it was the 118 car come down the pit lane, if that is correct. Or was it? No, actually it was the 188 of Judson Holt just came down the pit lane. He's got his crew taking a look at the car, checking tire pressures. With 6.5 minutes left, his session's pretty done. But look at this gaggle of drivers now. Denny Stripling coming down the pit lane. And Stripling in the 141 machine. He's done Mike Miserandino in the number 10, the red and white number 10. He is on the pit lane as well. And I think Caleb Schrader in the 99 is as well. But, you know, we're starting to see here, again, much like we had in Spec Miata, a number of drivers jockeying for position. Here we go, side by side, coming into turn 3. That is not the fast way around, going into the corner that leads you onto that very long moraine sweep. And then side by side coming up into turn 6 underneath the Corvette bridge as well. And there goes at least one of those machines. That green machine got kind of caught to the outside. Coming through 6. But of course, here at this straightaway, if you can get, you know, if you can find the person to work with, these long straightaways and the draftability and the Spec Racer Fords, it is definitely a combination that can lead to a very fast lap, much faster than if you are trying to make it around this 4 mile course all by yourself. Here is the 17 machine now comes down the pit lane. Liam Snyder now, actually, let's take a look here. Brian Schofield just puts in a heater. Schofield in the number 61 machine. He's out of Lakeland, Florida, former Spec Race 4 national champion. Turns in a 2:30.110. That is good for 6th fastest in the session. Now, he was 8th fastest earlier today in the first qualifying session, where he put in a 2:29.580. So again, in this session, doesn't appear as though our drivers are necessarily, some of the, I think back in the 75 car field, we're going to see a number of drivers that are picking up speed, but they just have not been able to, at least at the front of the pack, been able to improve upon what we saw earlier today. I did just see Sandy Satullo and Bobby Sack working together, locked nose to tail. They're coming into turn, they're probably coming down the hill towards turn 3 now. And there they are coming down. We just saw them go past the apex of turn 3. Yeah, here they come. It's the white car right behind the red and white machine. The white car and then the silver and black number 19 behind. That is Satullo and Sack. They are your 2 fastest drivers in the session currently. And whereas they had identical lap times earlier, well, now they are separated, but by only 3/1000ths of a second. Satullo with a 2:29.023, Sack a 2:29.026. And that is quite a bit faster than they ran earlier, as we had just had a driver spin off there going into turn 14. But you know, as we take a look, oh, I'm sorry, Satullo this morning a 2:28.685. So there's still about a little bit more than 3/10 off of the bar that Sandy Satullo's set so high earlier today. The 55 machine now on the pit lane and heading back, and appears to be heading back to the paddock. That is Jay Rosenthal. The 55 machine, well, for a moment, he was 55th fastest in the session. Now he's 56th. And we've got it sounds like a car that is off at turn 1. And a car that just another big dust cloud over at the kink. As we've got 1 minute remaining in qualifying here. And you can see, I think that was Denny Striplin going down, trying to find his way through the track, and I'm trying to determine, I think there may be a car there based on the path that these drivers are taking. Yeah, and there is a car there off as the smoke now clears. There is a machine up against the wall, driver's right. We also had a car off at turn 1, and we are now about 30 seconds early gonna throw the checkered flag, so that car gets itself off the wall down past the kink, but the checkered flag is now out on the session. These last flying laps will count. I think given the speed that we saw a lot of these drivers go through the area after the kink, go down the Kettle Bottoms towards Canada Corner, don't think we're going to see any fast laps set here this session. Tell you what, as our drivers are making their way around and crossing under, let me make a final call to the grid for our next group, and then we'll recap at least the top 10 here in this session. Attention in the paddock. Attention in the paddock. Final call to the grid for race group number 6. That's Formula V, Formula 600, and Formula F. Please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. Race group number 6 is your final call to the grid for Formula V, Formula 600, and Formula F. Please head to the grid. All right, so let's check in and see where some of these drivers are now. As we just had the number 98 machine come down the pit lane, and crew taking a look at that car. That is Craig Wheatley out of Sanibel, Florida, 44th currently in the order. the 71 machine heading back to the pits, and came down the pit lane, I think, before the checkered flag had gone out. All right, so let's take a look and see where we stand now as these drivers completed their last flying laps. And wow, Bobby Sack, waiting till the very last lap, crosses the stripe and turns in a 2:28.595. That is almost a full, it's actually 9/100ths of a second faster than the time that Sandy Sotullo threw down this morning. Unless somebody else can best that in the next, I don't know, next 30 seconds or so, Bobby Sack will be your pole sitter for tomorrow's sprint race. Sotullo, his fastest lap today, or this afternoon, at 2:29.023. But again, he was a bit faster this morning at 2:28.685. He should be starting on the outside of row number 1. Then Grant Vogel, your third fastest driver in this session, at a 2:29.21. And that is not enough to best Denny Stripling, who had a 2:28.716 earlier today. And Vogel with a 2:15. That is, though, I think, fast enough to displace Caleb Schrader out of Oregon and move Grant Vogel to the outside of row number 2. He should start 4th. Then Caleb Schrader. Then, let's see, with then it would be Todd Vanacore, then Denny Stripling, 5th and 6th. And I believe from there, David Dickerson, then Calvin Harris, Schofield with a 2:30, and then Jace Petty, then Brian Schofield based on his times from this morning, and then Mike Miserandino, and I believe then Liam Snyder as well. But there we go. Looks like we've got another car that is coming out of the kink, who is dead stick. Let's do this. Let's take a look. I think we've got a replay queued up, and we can see exactly what happened there as we had that the car that went off and got itself into the wall here just as time was running down. Let's see if we can track what happened. And here we go. And it looks like likely a smack on the wall, driver's left, and then comes back across, and you can see those drivers, like I said, real Days of Thunder moment there, as they had a pretty thick dirt smoke, not smoke, but some dirt in the air, and tried to pick out exactly where to go without making that incident worse. And we've got a car there that is going to need some help getting home. All right, so let's do this. Let's we just made that final call to the grid. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we've got our final qualifying session of the day. It is going to be Formula V, Formula 600, and Formula F. Again, we're going to wrap up qualifying, though, tomorrow morning, and we are going to be going on air tomorrow morning just around 8:15 tomorrow morning. We're going to have 3 qualifying sessions to round out all qualifying here at the June Sprints, and then our very first race of the weekend. It's going to be our touring cars rolling off right at about 10:05 tomorrow morning. We don't want you to miss that. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in a few moments. You're watching the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints live from Road America. Welcome back, everybody, to Road America and the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints, part of the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. I'm Gregg Ginsberg, and as I'm shepherding you through qualifying here, this is the last qualifying session of the day. It's the last session of the day, heading out on track right now for 25 minutes. It's Formula V, it's Formula 600, and what used to be known as Formula Ford, Formula F, heading on track and going out to set their best times for their two races this weekend. The best qualifying time from either this morning's session or this session now would set the grid for their sprint race, which is scheduled to start tomorrow at 2:20 p.m. And for those of you that want to know when their June Sprints Championship race is, well, it's scheduled for 1:35 on Sunday, and again, all those times are Central Time. As let's take a look and see how things finished up this morning here across our three different classes. We had a rather large field. I think almost 40 cars went out. Actually, 37 set times in qualifying earlier today. We had a 12-car Formula 600 field, and the fastest driver in Formula 600 and the fastest driver in this group altogether was Stephen Thompson out of Royal Oak, Michigan in his Nova Car J7. He put down a qualifying time of 2:21.459, and that was almost 2.4 seconds clear of Calvin Stewart. Calvin driving his Nova Car Blade. He's out of Novi, Michigan, a 2:23.9, and then James Weida in his Scorpion at a 2:24.066. As it sounds like we've got a car off. Yeah, there you go, off, and he spun center of track, so I don't believe there was an impact here. The word I'm getting from the corner is that the driver spun center of track and then pulled off driver's left, and he is looking to recover now, and that appears to be, trying to see, that is definitely one of our Formula F machines, but we'll see if we can get the number on that car. Well, that might be why they decided to wait there, and that is because they're pointing the wrong way. Here, he's now, I think, going to try and back it up, that perhaps that driver has determined that it is not best to rejoin coming at cars that are full on the throttle coming through the kink. Just a thought. It was Thompson, Stewart, Weida, Stephen Jondahl, your fastest drivers in Formula 600 this morning. In Formula F, Calvin Kautz in his Honda-powered Piper out of Geneva, Illinois, was your fastest driver with a qualifying time of 2:25.654. That was about 1900ths of a second up on Cliff Johnson's Piper out of Stillwell, Kansas. Zach Rivard from Macomb, Michigan, driving a Van Diemen, had a 2:25.885. And then Mateo Naranjo in his Mygale out of Edwards, Illinois, driving for Pelfrey, a 2:26.571. His teammate, David Adorno from Woodhaven, New York, was the fifth fastest driver in Formula F. And then in and I might also add 12 cars in Formula F. Lucky 13 drivers in Formula V, where Andrew Whitston was your fastest driver. He's out of Neenah, Wisconsin, a 2:41.920. His fastest lap time, 1.2 seconds clear of his brother Zach, who had a 2:43.200. And then Ron Whitston out of Neenah, and Ron with a 2:45.362. So Whitston's all around. And then Graham Lofhead and Jeff Lofhead, both driving Vortex, and 2:45.483 for Graham. Jeff Lofhead, a 2:45.867. That's your top five. William Straczynski, who, I think there's a reason why we've got Brian Straczynski watching the chat, because William out on track. And hopefully we may even have Brian up at the booth with us here this weekend. I believe he is actually here at Road America. William, sixth fastest. All right, tell you what, I think we've got a replay, thanks to Director Zach, of the car that spun. Well, tell you what, I was going to say, do we want to catch that? Because we had one of our Formula Vs just go around over at turn number 5. And trying to get a number on that, and it's and we also have a debris flag being waved and hung over by the kink, and I think that may be due to our previous spin or whatever. It might have brought back out on track, and apparently it's offline. But let's take a look. I think Director Zach has the replay lined up of that spin going through the carousel. That's one car that's gone off and then rejoined, and let's take a look and follow the action. And here we go. And that was impressive. Usually you go off there at that speed and you're going to find a way to get to the concrete driver's left, and instead that machine spun 720 degrees and came to a stop. So driver definitely averted disaster, as we've got a great view. Zach, if we can see coming down into turn 1, we've got, I think, 4 Formula Vs all jockeying for position now, and we'll see if they can get it straightened out by the time they get to 1. This will be great for a race. I don't know how great this is for qualifying, and here they actually do get it all straightened out as they come down into turn number 1 and out on track. I'll have to try and get those drivers there. I don't believe those definitely aren't the Whitstons involved there, and I think it might be Delaney, Richardson, maybe Connor Lawfed. But I mean, it is a full family affair here. We talked about Andrew, Zach, and Ron. We also have Steve Whitston here. Besides Graham Lawfed and Jeff Lawfed, we have Connor as well. So definitely family affair here, at least in Formula V. All right, in the 38 machine, he just completed a lap. They, part of race control, they want to alert him that he may be beyond those the 103 decibel sound limit that Stephen Jondahl in his Formula 600 Red Devil. Well, let's take a look and see where we stand here in this session. We're again, Stephen Thompson, your fastest Formula 600 driver at the moment, with a time of 2:21.263, and that is almost it's almost 0.2 of a second faster than he ran this morning. So he has definitely improved upon that provisional pole time. Calvin Stewart, also in a Nova car, a 2:22.677, and so he's knocked a lot of time off, and he's gotten a lot closer to Stephen Thompson, but he's still 1.4 seconds back. Then James Weida, our third fastest, at a 2:23.028, and he is almost a full second faster than he was yesterday. All right, and we've got coming through turn 8, sounds like we have the 07 machine, a Calvin Stewart, in his Formula 600, and he's high-sided. There you can see him as you look underneath the Speedville Bridge, there just to the left, and he is halfway in the grass, halfway on the concrete apron over there, and cannot seem to get the car off. So we do have a local yellow there coming out of turn number 7. And I think we've got it queued up here. Let's take a look and see what happened to Calvin Stewart. And here he comes. He just appeared to go straight off. And he's got the rear wheel still on that apron, just cannot get the car backed up. And it looks like he may have just outbraked himself going into turn 8 over there. Yep. Well, and then it looked like he got himself somewhat turned around Maybe that's when he got high-sided, but he's pointing towards the go-kart track as we've got the emergency services team on the scene, and hopefully getting him pulled out of there soon. Let's take a look. Take a look at Formula F, where Calvin Kotz now goes to the top of the timing pylon in his Honda-powered his Honda-powered Piper, a 2:24.705 the time, and that is 9/10 of a second faster than Calvin ran this morning in qualifying. He was your provisional pole sitter coming into the day, and he has again raised the bar in Formula F. Zach Rivard, our second fastest driver on track in this session, at a 2:25.5, so almost 8/10 of a second off of Cox's time, and he has now bested Cliff Johnson. Johnson earlier today was able to manage a 2:25.84, so that now moves Zach Rivard into as second fastest in Formula F. Cliff Johnson third fastest, and then Matteo Naranjo fourth fastest, and then Matteo Naranjo fifth fastest. All right, and it sounds as though our emergency services workers have gotten Calvin Stewart back underway. In Formula V, fastest driver on track again is Andrew Whitston. His fastest time in this session at 2:44.533. And that is, it's about a second and a half off of what he ran earlier today. Zach Whitston, second fastest at a 2:44.7. William Straczynski, a 2:45. And 2:45.155, and that's a heck of a move by Straczynski. Straczynski was our sixth fastest driver this morning, and the time that he put in, not only is it good for third fastest in this session, it's good for third fastest today. And if qualifying were to end right now, and well, we're halfway through the session, he would be there on the second row in Formula V. But let's do this as we are halfway through this 25-minute qualifying session. Let's take a quick break. We're going to thank some of our partners and sponsors. And when we come back, we'll bring you the rest of qualifying here in Formula 600, Formula F, and Formula V from Road America and the 2023 WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. We'll be right back.
Ready for a new race trailer? Bravo Trailers is the exclusive trailer partner of the SCCA. Owned by longtime SCCA racers, Bravo Trailers work better, load easier, and tow better because we build them with racers in mind. Visit bravotrailers.com to see your new trailer in aluminum or steel.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit HawkPerformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA's Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant, customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. Realizing Hoosier's existence and continued success is dependent upon how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see one of our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Tire racing dealer nearest you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly designed for champions.
Mazza Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your race weekend with Mazza Vineyards and learn more at enjoymazza.com.
And welcome back to Road Atlanta. There we go. I knew it was going to come out once. To Road America, the National Park of Speed, not Road Atlanta. I'm Gregg Ginsberg, who is screwing things up as always, here for the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour and the premier event on the Super Tour. That is the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. And we are here with our last qualifying session of the day, Formula V. And again, our Formula V and Formula 600 and Formula F racers They are going to race tomorrow, starting at 2:20 p.m. That is for their 25-minute sprint race, and then their June Sprints Championship race, going to be 13 laps or 35 minutes, scheduled for 1:35 p.m. on Sunday. And again, those are Central Daylight Time. Sounds like and looks like, and it's hard to say it sounds like, but it looks like the number 55 machine has just received some admonishment from the stewards over sound. That's Keith Jocelyn in his Rotax-powered Scorpion out of Grand Island, New York. Again, drivers need to keep under 103 decibels, lest they risk the chance of having their qualifying times tossed and getting black flagged. So Jocelyn there getting a warning from the stewards just as he put in his new personal best lap at 2:26.967, good for 7th fastest in this session for Formula 600. Steve Thompson continues to circulate, continues to have a stranglehold on Formula 600 this weekend, and his fastest time at the moment, a 2:21.263, about a tenth of a second off of. Well, he just turned in a time that was about a tenth of a second off that. Calvin Stewart, your second fastest driver, 1.3 seconds back from there. Then another 0.3 back to Aaron Ellis, who now jumps over James Weeder. Let's take a look at the time set this morning and see where Aaron Ellis ends up. Now, Ellis was our 8th fastest Formula 600 driver this morning, and the best time that he could put in was a 2:37.284, and he has definitely done better than that. Put in a 2:22.9, and like I said, he had leapfrogged. And we had a slow-moving car coming out of 14. That car is now on the pit lane. So Ellis had leapfrogged James Weeda, but that was very short-lived because Weeda now puts in a 2:21.711. That is the second fastest time of the session, but I think more importantly, it also is faster than Calvin Stewart has put in. Stewart's fastest time of 2:22.607. Now, of course, Stewart will not be racing tomorrow due to the Sabbath, but at the moment, he is qualified 3rd fastest with Aaron Ellis, your new 4th fastest driver in Formula 600. In Formula F, Calvin Kautz continues to lead the field, and I believe he is still out circulating as well in the number 88 machine. That Honda-powered Piper at 2:34.705, the fastest time of the session, and about 9/10 faster than he ran this morning. Then we've got Zach Rivard with a 2:25.503, and then Cliff Johnson at a 2:25.611. David Adorno now. Let's take a look as Adorno has put in a 2:25.862. That's going to allow him to leapfrog his teammate Matteo Naranjo. So move David Adorno, the Pelfrey driver, up in the 4th. Move Naranjo. If session were to end now, he would be qualified in 5th for tomorrow's race. As we've got the number 06 Formula 600 machine on the pit lane right now. That is Jeff Jorgensen in his out of Manawak, Wisconsin, driving a Maverick, and Jorgensen now out of the car as well. So it looks like his session is done. His fastest time in this session at 2:24.726. The 38 machine, who we've seen down the pit lane numerous times and gotten a soundboard earlier. Stephen Jondahl now making, I believe, what is his 4th run down the pit lane. He in all that time, though, he did have the opportunity to put in some lap times, and a 2:24.058, his fastest lap of the session, 5th fastest. As Calvin Stewart now goes to the top of the leaderboard in Formula 600, a 2:19.670 is the time. that is almost 1.6 seconds clear of Stephen Thompson's prior pole time. And that is just putting a stamp on the session by Calvin Stewart. And I just want to take a look and see what the track record is in Formula 600. Aaron Ellis set it all the way back in 2013, a 2:33.561. And if that just doesn't sound right, but with the repaving of the track surface, it's certainly a possibility. And so again, Aaron Ellis now, he's got the track record for now, but so many drivers so far under that track record time. We'll have to see if that holds up over the weekend, as both Andrew and Zach Whitston bring their Formula Vs, their protoforms, back to the paddock. Andrew Whitston going to retire for the day with a qualifying time of 2:41.797. That is the fastest of all the Formula Vs. Zach Whitston at a 2:43.475. That is about, it's actually about 0.2 of a second off of where he qualified yesterday. As we've got a car it's gone around and into the gravel coming out of turn 6 underneath that Corvette bridge, and we'll see if he can go and recover. And he's moving through the grass right now. We'll see if he rejoins. And it is the 62 machine that has gone off. And that is, I believe, one of our Formula F machines. That is Robert Gross out of Washington Township, Michigan, in his Piper. Currently running 9th fastest. Safe to assume this is not going to be a lap that puts him further up in the order, as we now have just a touch over 2.5 minutes remaining in qualifying. And look at this, Calvin Stewart raises the bar on the provisional pole time for Formula 600, and frankly for this entire group, to a 2-minute 18-second .522. He ran overall bests in Sector 1, Sector 2, and Sector 3 in his Novacar Blade. And that now puts him 2.1 seconds clear of Stephen Thompson. Now, as I mentioned here, Calvin will not be racing tomorrow. And the thing that you have to be cognizant of is that the grid for the Sunday championship race, June Sprints championship race, is actually based on 3 different sessions. It's the fastest lap set during either of the qualifying times today or the race tomorrow. And so if during tomorrow's sprint race somebody can race and set a time faster than, at the moment, a 2:18.522, they'll be on the pole for the Sunday race. But for the moment, Calvin Stewart would be your pole sitter if he were to race tomorrow, which we know he won't, if he were to race on Sunday. As we've got now only a minute remaining, and it is Stewart and Zach Rivard now, and we've got some changes here in Formula F as well, as Zach Rivard out of Macomb, Michigan, throws down a 2:23.259, and that is 2.2 seconds faster than Calvin Cox did this morning. Matteo Naranjo turns in a 2:24.547. So both Rivard and Naranjo leapfrog Calvin Cox. And if the session were to end, and we're getting pretty close to the session ending, only about 15 seconds remaining before the checkered flag flies. But for the moment, Zach Rivard, he is your new pole sitter in Formula F, with Naranjo, who just a few moments ago was your 5th fastest driver in Formula F. He is now your 2nd fastest driver in Formula F. Calvin Cox, 3rd fastest. And wow, big changes here as well as Tazio Staffanelli, fourth fastest, as the checkered flag is now out. The first driver to take the checkered flag is the 64 machine of Scoop Heavey in his Formula V protoform. We'll see as a few more of these drivers pass through and see if there are any other changes, especially in Formula F, but Tazio Staffanelli putting in a great run to move up to fourth fastest in Formula F. As the number 77 machine now retires, that is Zach Rivard, so he isn't going to put in another flying lap. He put in that 2:23.25 and knew it was enough. And again, with almost a 1.2 second advantage over the rest of the Formula F field at the moment, as 5 of our Formula Vs come across the finish line almost, well, you know, you've only got 55 feet of width here at Road America, and somehow they almost fit 5 Formula Vs in that space. But here now is our final cars are, I believe, let's take a look here if we have anybody remaining. I think we may have gotten all of our drivers across the checkered flag. So let's take a look at where we are and where we finish up. Calvin Stewart, your fastest Formula 600 driver. He would be on actually the number 18 of Keith Hall just goes by. Calvin Stewart, he takes pole. Again, he's not going to be here for tomorrow's sprint race. Stephen Thompson, 2.1 seconds off. Will take the pole tomorrow, but he's your second fastest Formula 600 here today. James Weeda, third fastest, then Aaron Ellis, Keith Jocelyn, Stephen Jondal. In Formula F, Zach Rivard will be your pole sitter out of Macomb, Michigan, with a qualifying time of 2:23.259. Then Sebastian Naranjo at 2:24.547. Calvin Kautz, third fastest. And then let's take a look if it's David Adorno or if it's Tazio Staffanelli. This morning, Adorno ran a 2:27.688, and that is almost 2.5 seconds off of Steffanelli's times. So Tazio Staffanelli will start fourth, Cliff Johnson will start fifth, and then David Adorno sixth in a 12-car Formula F field. And then finally in Formula V, Andrew Whitston should be your pole sitter when our drivers here go racing tomorrow. Then Zach Whitston, then Ron Whitston. And then let's take a look, fourth fastest. Is it going to be Graham Lawfed or is it going to be Steve Whitston? Steve today ran a 2:43.511, Graham a 2:45. It is going to be our front two rows. It's going to be Andrew Whitston, Ron Whitston, Zach Whitston, Steve Whitston there. So a two-row lockout there at the front of the Formula V. And so again, Formula V, they are going to be racing 2:20 p.m. tomorrow afternoon for their 25-minute sprint race. And then they will race again on Sunday for their June Sprints Championship race at 1:35 p.m. 13 laps or 35 minutes, whichever comes first. All right, and before we start to wrap up here, got a quick announcement that we need to make. Attention in the paddock, Would Mark Bielanski, driver of the Spec Racer 4 Gen 3, number 197, please report to the race director at Impound. Mark Bielanski, driver of Spec Racer 4, number 197, that's from group number 5. Please see the race director located in Impound. All right, so as we get things wrapped up, let me quickly go through our schedule for tomorrow. We are going to be on air tomorrow right at about 8:15 a.m., and we're going to be wrapping up qualifying. We've got 3 qualifying sessions to wrap that up. It's going to be our prototype cars and Formula Enterprise machines to lead things off. Then the big ground pounders, our GT cars, our American sedan cars as well. And then we're going to wrap up qualifying with Super Touring Light and Super Touring Under. Then it is time to go racing at the June Sprints. 10:05 tomorrow morning. Touring 2, Touring 3, and Touring 4. And then it is a full day of racing. After that race, 8 more sprint races, 25-minute sprint races here at the June Sprint. So we definitely want you to come join us. Join us on scca.com/live. Obviously, hit us on the YouTube channel. And by the way, if you haven't done so already, this is the time. This is the best time. Go ahead, smash, demolish, jump up and down, do handsprings across it. Hit that like button, and go ahead, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to the Sports Car Club of America's YouTube channel. It helps us, it helps the club, it helps you as well, and gets the word out about all the great racing that we have here in the club. And tomorrow we're going to be joined by Brian Bielanski, my partner in crime, to bring you all the action here from Road America for day number 2 of 3 of the 68th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints, part of the 2023, the last stop on the 2023 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. So until 8:15 tomorrow morning, have a wonderful day.